краю нашого неволі, я полкового знамена, дивлюсь на нього я востаннє, у нез'ясованій журбі, всю кров мою всі скидання, воно вібрало у собі.
Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великой страны.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні. У нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів. Робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить. Хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар? Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ. Тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар. Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Yes.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
О, бля! Игорь!
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 330 of the news, and may the fallen rest in peace.
And, of course, in memory of the fallen dead, who, of course, died today in that helicopter crash right outside of Kyiv in the outskirt city of Brovary. 16 people were killed, including 9 on board the helicopter and several on the ground. Many more were wounded, and one of the killed was a child attending kindergarten. With that, we're now going to be moving out of the way of that news for a second, because we have something very bizarre in our title tonight. And I will admit, I've seen a lot of you on the 10-minute countdown saying, that has to be wrong, right? There are no Apaches in Ukraine. At least not that we know of. And I would say, yeah, because the other day we actually debunked a rumor that the British were sending Apaches of their own, the AH Mark 1s, into Ukraine. And that was not true, but we've gotten really weird pictures today from a Belarusian volunteer unit that's currently inside of Ukraine and fighting there, showing opposite. And we're completely blown away. Somewhere deep in the interior of Ukraine, there are some pictures that were taken by the Terror unit, the Terror Belarusian volunteer unit, and behind the helmet that has their patch on it is an Apache attack helicopter. And we can see here, they put the helmet on it. It's on the side, so we can see it's physically there somewhere. And we can see that they took another picture here. I'll show you all the full image. Helmet inside the cockpit, in the gunner's position. I don't really know if this, and of course, I'm saying this, it is picture and video evidence, and we always work off of picture and video evidence, but the fact that this would take a lot of effort to get into Ukraine, an Apache, disassembling it, transporting it across the border, and then reassembling it without anybody knowing to this point, I don't know. I feel as though this is a real picture, because if we look at the helmet is positioned in multiple different ways in each picture. Like, just look right here. I'll show you all this picture again. Notice the patch is really angled downwards here. If this was Photoshop, this is a very crazy good Photoshop. And then in the next picture, we can see right here as it's sitting on the side, the helmet's at a different angle, and the patch on it is also tilted far more upwards, and the angle of the patch is really, really good. I don't know. I don't know what to take this as. A lot of people are saying Photoshop, but I don't know. I think, honestly, Matthew, this deserves to be a poll of its own, because is this real or is this not? Because some people are saying Photoshop, and also some people are saying geo on the photo, geolocation. I would assume not, because if they are in Ukraine, they don't really want the Russians to know where they are so they can get stricken immediately. But, hell, I don't really know, because we look at this picture again. This is incredible.
I see some folks saying it might be in Poland, actually.
Might be in Poland. Then why does the pilot have a Terror unit patch on his helmet?
That's a good question.
You know, all this is really weird to me. And also, I don't know what emblem for what helicopter this is. I don't know what unit has this emblem. So if anyone could help us out with that part, and if anyone could also help us out to find more information about this. Right now, this is all we have. If this Apache is in Ukraine, this is the only proof of its existence. And not only that, but the caption on these pictures that were posted by the Terror unit today said that they, quote-unquote, were listing a job for a hellfire operator. It sounds as if the Terror unit has got an Apache. Whether they really do or don't, I don't know. These pictures are really convincing, though. And one last thing. This is why I'm saying it can't be Photoshop. You can see the reflection of the helmet in the glass. Like, that's something that you can do in Photoshop, but I'm sure it would take so much time that it wouldn't look that convincing. And it's even in the reflection on the glass right there. I don't know.
I certainly wouldn't know how to do it.
I certainly wouldn't know, sure as hell, how to make the reflection show up in the glass while Matthew sighs as loud as he can in the mic. But I don't know. I really don't know. And a lot of y'all look like y'all also don't really know as well. But I thought I would show this to y'all because I don't know if we're the first reporting on it, that there is an Apache in Ukraine. I don't know if this is really in Ukraine or not. But considering it has the Terror unit patch on the helmet, and the Terror unit is in Ukraine, we have a fairly good assumption to go with that this may be in Ukraine, and this Apache may be there. But we're going to give it a little bit before we confirm that. But we have a picture, which is pretty wild. So, and a lot of people are saying it's there, it's not there, and someone's saying that he's training elsewhere. Marcia Tucker actually said, due to training elsewhere, brought his helmet. That may also be the case, or he may have been issued a helmet and got a patch. We're not really sure, but very interesting nonetheless. We're now going to be moving on from that bit of news because I knew that was going to be the one where everyone was like, there's no way. And we do have pictures of that thing. It's just that it's like, is it really in Ukraine or what? What's going on there? Anyways, we're going to be moving on out of that little bit of news. And we're now going to be moving on to Kyiv and specifically into the area of Brovary, where today a very unfortunate occurrence happened. And we cannot go further into the news without mentioning this as one of the first off occurrences. Today, a Super Puma helicopter bought by the Ukrainians in 2018 took off today from the center of Kyiv, flying outside of the city to an undisclosed location. Somewhere along its flight path outside of the city, near the area of Brovary, the helicopter ran into some unknown technical issues, causing the helicopter to crash and killing all 9 crew members on board the helicopter, including multiple ministers of the Ukrainian government, as well as the pilot and the onboard mechanic. All people inside the helicopter were killed, and there were also several people who were killed on the ground as the helicopter crashed into a building. Unfortunately, the building that it also crashed into was apparently a kindergarten, killing 1 child and wounding several adults that were in the area. We do have some video footage showing the helicopter crash's aftermath right here. And so, here's the video. You can see the firefighters outside the area. We can see the remains of the Super Puma right there. We can see some more remains of the helicopter right there. We now see the kindergarten that was close nearby and some of the remains of the helicopter spread out amongst the grounds of the kindergarten. And with that, that's the end of the clip, and the cleanup is still ongoing right now. There's very little information about the technical difficulties that the helicopter must have faced as it was crashing, but we do know one particular thing that's very important about this helicopter, the kind of helicopter it was. We were looking at the remains of a Super Puma helicopter. These have been used heavily by many militaries around the world, specifically the French Air and Space Force, and we can see a picture of one right here. About 32 of these were requisitioned by the Ukrainians in 2018 by purchase order from the French, and since then they've been using them largely for governmental purposes, but during this war, they've also used the Super Pumas for transport of military personnel and supplies in certain instances. The picture you're looking at here is of a Swiss Air Force Super Puma. Beyond that, we don't really know much. One other thing that was fairly interesting is that we didn't see the listing of a co-pilot. We only saw the listing of a lead mechanic. That leads me to assume that I guess you could say helicopter mechanic was the co-pilot of the helicopter, and the pilot was also, of course, obviously the pilot. Beyond that, we don't really know much at the moment about the crash and why it occurred. Some people have been saying that it was due to poor weather. Some people are saying that it may have been a mechanical failure. One thing has been ruled out, however, that it was a Russian assault on the helicopter by missile that shot it down. It was too close to Kyiv for that to occur, for an air-to-air missile to be launched anywhere from Belarus or inside of Russia or in Ukrainian airspace to hit the helicopter and destroy it. So that has been ruled out, but beyond that, the talks are pretty much never ending right now about what really caused this helicopter to go down with so many important ministers on board. And of course, we listed off in the intro all of the ministers that unfortunately were killed in this crash, but it's fairly interesting to me to think that it occurred with so many ministers on board. A very unfortunate coincidence, I guess you could say, and hopefully they can find the reason of the crash and why the Super Puma ran into any kind of difficulties. You can also see that the rotor head up here matches the rotor head that we saw after the crash sitting on the side of an apartment building. We're now going to be moving on from this little...
And can't these helicopters auto-rotate to the ground? I wonder why that wasn't used.
I don't know if they can, and like for example, if it's poor weather, this helicopter's rotor blades may have clipped a building, considering it's probably flying at a fairly low altitude, and because of that, it practically just lost all lift because all the rotor blades have to not be clipped in any way, shape, or form for the airfoil to be maintained. And so it could be that the helicopter clipped a building with its rotor blade, and then it went down, and the pilots just managed to miss a high-rise and also a kindergarten and kind of sandwich it in between down there. So we're not really sure. It may have been that it wasn't able to do that operation. With that, we're now going to be moving on from the area of Brovary and further on down. Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to be moving on up into Russia. We're not moving into our location unknowns yet. But inside of Russia today, we've had some fairly bizarre things going on. First off, we saw that on Russian news, a man claiming that Belarus is a part of Russia before he was quickly reminded on live air that it's actually its own country and it's an ally.
Украина, это же Россия. Белоруссия, это же Россия. Это же Россия.
Беларусь у нас союзное государство.
Союзное, да.
Right there. This guy said, Ukraine is Russian. Belarus is Russian. And then the other guy here in the suit, he said, Belarus is an ally of ours. Now this guy's like, oh. He'd say, it's not ours, I guess.
Это большая Россия.
Независимое, суверенное, союзное государство.
Да.
Не пугайте, Александр Григорьевич.
Она, между прочим, в союзном государстве. Она состоит в едином союзном государстве. Поэтому сейчас...
He's like, whoops, I just misidentified our only ally in the whole world as being part of us. This is very embarrassing for me. I don't know how Russian commentators are that stupid to say stuff like that, or if that was an indirect way of him saying that it should become a part of Russia in the future, which is probably what the Russians are really thinking about this entire thing. But we're going to be moving on from that really short clip, which is a great goof up from the Russians, and we're now going to be moving on up into the next bit of news. We've had the devil return in full form, in full flesh. You're not going to believe it, Matthew. Volodymyr Zloleviev is actually returning here again because he's had more crazy crap to say. The crap he said
Look
today...
at the title on that. He said, oh, God.
Oh, man. It's about to get bad. So, anyways, I'm going to let y'all see the clip. Here's the video.
Вот вы слушаете всех этих людей, которые готовы дать все, что нужно Украине для победы. Все! Я думаю, что в конечном итоге, включая ядерное оружие. Поэтому уничтожение этого сатанинского мира становится для нас экзистенциальной задачей. Не людей, нет. Сатанинского мира, Содома и Гоморры, которые нам противостоит. Послушайте, что говорил перед боем Магомед Хейтанаев, позывной шейх.
Фашизм, нацизм – это не богоугодное дело. Гнев Аллаха пал на них.
Then how come they haven't lost? It's been 11 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Мы защищаем божественные законы. Мы защищаем нашу веру. Мы спрашиваем,
Dang, that quick pan gave me backlash.
украинцы, почему вы разрешили гей-парады в Киеве, в Харькове, в Одессе? Почему вы это разрешили? Почему вы не вышли против них, против своей власти, которые захватили фашисты?
Volodymyr's reaction is about as good as mine to this crap. He's not even reacting down there in his little camera box on the bottom left.
Не стесняясь
Probably trying to hold him from laughing.
людей, открыто,
Probably.
явно распространяют свою нечисть. Субханаллах, пречист Всевышний Аллах. Наш священный долг, долг каждого верующего, защищать религию Всевышнего Аллаха. Римский папа официально узаконил однополые браки.
Jose Diaz said the guys behind him aren't even paying attention. They're just like having a whole conversation.
Yeah, they're just chit-chatting, having fun. This guy over here, he's got like polio or something. He's got the little thing, like the crutch. I was just like, wait, why is he going to war too? I was just wondering about that.
Изменить пол. Римский папа официально открыл храм сатаны. Поэтому они на стороне сатаны. А мы на стороне Бога. Мы защищаем Божьи законы. Поэтому нам помогает Всевышний Создатель. Всевышний Создатель.
Okay, here's my question though. I know that people don't like me pausing this whole thing, but I gotta ask this. Didn't the guy just say they were fighting on the side of like Allah and everything, and then he's going to sit there and start talking about the Catholic Church and what they've done, like it has any pertinence to them and they've turned on them? It's like, isn't historically like the Muslim faith and the Catholic Church like bitter enemies? You know, isn't that like what the whole jihads and the Crusades thing was about? Like, you know, for hundreds of years, all the way up until like the 1800s. You know, it's like, wasn't that what that was about? You know, now he's acting like, look what they did. You know, they've turned on us. It's like, but y'all have historically never been friends. That doesn't make any sense.
Этих небес и земли. Нам помогают его ангелы. Нам помогают наши мирные люди, которые живут
No, they're not. They're beating you over the head when you don't pay bus fare.
Болеют за нас. Поэтому мы орлы.
Oh, God, that's cringe.
Орлы. Высоко летают.
Throw me amongst the wolves and I'll come back the leader of the
Наш
pack.
дух
That's
не
like that kind of vibe right there. Ew.
Наша вера крепкая.
No one gives a crap about this guy's speech, man. Just look at him.
На священной
Look, here
войне.
he goes. Here he goes. He was talking about the Catholic Church, you know, and he was like, look at them, and he's talking about all of this like Christian stuff, and then he goes right back to, we're in a jihad. It's like, then what does it matter to you what the Catholic Church is doing? You know, because isn't that like an entirely separate thing? You're just mortal enemies regardless. You know, I don't know. It makes no sense to me what this guy's saying though.
И мы говорим, такбир! Аллаху Акбар!
Oh, and they're dressed up like 101 Dalmatians.
Русский рожден для выполнения своего долга.
Wait a minute! What? That's Volodymyr!
Wait a minute, that's the guy in the bottom corner?
Yeah, the drunk
What the
guy.
hell?
Столько веков она борется со злом.
What does he like teleport? This dude is Satan.
Смерти нет.
He's literally watching himself and reacting to himself on video. That's just weird.
Боли нет. Есть сожаление, что не успели забрать врага побольше.
These lines are
Мы
cringe.
продолжаемся в наших детях. А они? Какие у них дети, если мужики спят с мужиками? Кого они воспитают, если неизвестно, кого они нашли? Против нас 50 стран.
Actually, last we checked, according to the count in the United Nations, there's about like 140 countries against Russia right now. So he's a little under the mark by about 100 countries or so. But hey, he's Russian. He's trying. You know, he probably can't add. So.
Которых объединяет одно – сатанизм. Что бы они ни говорили, как бы они ни пытались найти красивые слова, в этой конфетке гнилое нутро.
Now he's a confectioneer. What is he doing? Making chocolate on his free time? Is he like a chocolatier or something?
Зависит судьба страны. Если мы не победим, не Россия, мир исчезнет.
There's the nuclear threat, the subliminal one.
Зачем такой мир, в
I
котором
don't
нет
hardly know who this
России?
guy even is.
You see, I always love how the Russians say, we're fighting for everyone else. And then they say, if we don't exist, we're going to kill everyone. Like, that's what they always go back to. If we are not here, we're just going to nuke everyone in a hellfire so that way no one can exist. Because we really don't care about anyone else rather than ourselves.
Верховный главнокомандующий.
Аллаху
Акбар! Россия!
Марш!
Я
He's a Muslim?
повторю на всех
I don't know. I
языках.
don't know.
Аллаху Акбар. Элохим Гадоль. Господь велик. Мы воюем против сатанистов. Это священная война. И мы должны победить.
Now he's just playing around on his iPad at the end. But I thought last week, I'm sure I'm mistaken because, you know, I'm sure he's not just playing every religious group in Russia for some sympathy points or something. But I was pretty sure last week he was an Eastern Orthodox talking about how Russia is defending traditional white Russian, like Eastern Orthodox values or something last week. Now this week, he's going Allahu Akbar, and he's down there with the Kadyrovite Chechens. I'm not really getting, like, the whole theme with this guy. Like, he's just flipping around from whatever. And I bet you next week, he's going to be out there with the Siberians and the Tuvans. And he's going to be talking about, I have always been the Tuvan. You know, believe in me. I'm a Tuvan, you know, or something like that. I mean, like, hell, I wouldn't doubt if you threw him in a sewer, he would be down there with the rats going, ratatouille, ratatouille. Like, he's going to go anywhere and sing any song. And at the end of the day, you can see what it is. It's clearly propaganda because I think, if I'm correct, 2 weeks ago, yeah, it's Russian Orthodox. Thank you, Marcia. It was Russian Orthodox, not a Kadyrovite Muslim. And that's kind of...
I said he was Jewish before.
I think he said he's everything under the sun before. I think he just plays whatever's advantageous to him at the moment. But that is a true propagandist right there, when you will completely drop what you were saying last week and just say whatever you need to this week to appease the group you're with. That is a propagandist, just by definition. And also, let's see, John said, how much you want to bet he's got a bounty on his head? I don't know, but interestingly enough, speaking of like bounties on media presenters' heads and everything like that guy, we actually heard that Prigozhin is complaining about YouTubers dissing on him, and he wants Putin to ban him in Russia. I think he actually watched her channel. Like, I think he did, because he got his feelings hurt from it, which is kind of funny to think, because we brush off Russian bots. We make fun of them before we ban them. This guy is getting in his feelings over us roasting him. I thought he was supposed to be like some really badass cook from Russia, and he's starting to cry over some guy on YouTube saying some stuff about him. I think that's hilarious. So with that, we're now going to be moving on from Russia and the brain rot that we still see ongoing there, and now it's time for us to move on into our location unknowns. And so starting off on our first clip, we saw a Ukrainian drone hitting some Russians, as usual. Some pretty nice film. The music, of course, class. We can see them dropping the bomblet. We can see the Russians on the move down there, and it looks like they're not on the move anymore. They've come to a complete stop. Oh man, we brought out the bots with that Russian propagandist thing, Matthew. Love Putin! Yeah. Oh man, but we can see here that they're lying around. They're just having a moment to think. And you know, I was just wondering, Matthew, you know, it's not like there were trenches on every single side of the road at this point. You know, why the hell did they take the only open spot to walk through? Why didn't they take a trench or something? They would have been afforded at least a small amount of protection then. Instead, they just go walking down the open air footpath right above all the trenches.
Leave it to the Russians.
Yeah, leave it to the Russians. Honestly, the Russians don't even surprise me at this point. They just do what they do, I guess, and it's just raw stupidity every single time. With that, we're now moving on to the next bit of location unknown news. By the way, great shot with a VOG, because the VOGs aren't exactly aerodynamic. So for them to actually drop that thing and hit them, pretty impressive. We're now going to be moving on to the next clip, where we also saw some Russians getting slammed by some artillery. See the Russians there? Wow, that is music. Okay, we'll mute that. We can see them right there. And we see it coming in, and it got him. The video was not long at all. It hit more so to the right of him, so I think this guy may have taken some shrapnel, but beyond that, he may actually be just minorly injured. But the rest of the guys, I think their story is a little different, considering we can't even see them on film anymore. But anyways, Great job to the Ukrainian ATGM crew that was using it almost as an artillery piece and dunking on these Russians like LeBron James at a Lakers game. But with that, we're now going to be moving on from this little clip and on into the next one, where we also saw some more Russian soldiers getting hit. That's right, the past two videos have been showing Russian soldiers getting hit. Guess what? The third one also shows Russian soldiers getting hit. Oh. This one apparently has been now marked as NSFW. I am quite mistaken because, as far as I remember, it wasn't. Let me take this off screen real quick, and let me double check, because maybe it was just marked that for some reason, but let me look at this again. And... Oh, it is. Huh, I didn't catch that the first time. So, to describe the video to y'all, because I can't show it, and just in case y'all don't want to click on the link in the description below to look at the map, there was a guy crawling through a field in the snow, the bomblet fell, and it landed on the bullseye, like square on the back. So, yeah, not exactly good for viewing. So we're now going to be moving on to our next bit of Location Unknown news, where we saw a Stugna hitting its target. It was quite a nice shot, too. See here in the clip, the Stugna firing. We can hear the sound of the Stugna firing. It's now traveling on its way. And we can see some Russian soldiers out there on the move. Call this thing a taser because the Russians stopped moving. Also...
Да нахуй.
Also, here's something interesting. Did you notice, Vandy, that they were all walking, and then as the Stugna is coming in, they all just group up and stop? Hey, Volodymyr, check out this cool turtle I found. Oh, that's a neat turtle, Volodymyr. Hey, what's that sound?
Да нахуй.
Oh, man. Yeah, very interesting. I don't know why they stopped right there. It was the worst time for them to stop, but it's a good thing they did because the Ukrainians got them right on with the Stugna. With that, we're now going to be moving on into our next bit of Location Unknown news, where we saw a grad firing at the Russians. As you can tell, it is a little loud. This man out here, he just pulling the full Slav squat. Not Slav Scott. Okay, brother, I'm Scottish and Slavic. But he's pulling out the full Slav squat over here from the grad.
Продовжуємо нищити Росію. Слава Україні.
And now they're scooting immediately, and that's the end of the clip. But really interesting to see this thing firing off, and hopefully it's able to hit its targets further down range. We're now going to be moving on from this little clip. And we're now going to be moving on into our last bit of news. And today I actually had to get a different formatted Russian losses sheet. I was not able to find the one from the Kyiv Independent, but here's the losses for today. As we can see, 820 additional Russian soldiers have been killed today. That is on top of about the 870 killed yesterday. So you can see that the losses in infantry are getting incredibly high. The Russians also lost a considerable amount of main battle tanks today, an entire 9 of them. That is a very high number. Almost an entire battalion tactical group has been wiped out over the past 24 hours in terms of the tank forces. The armored personnel carriers, or the ACVs, armored combat vehicles, they have been somewhat lacking. Usually we see around 16 of them being knocked out per day. Today was only about 10. But the Ukrainians did make up for that lack of losses with the tank losses that they were able to inflict on the Russians over the past 24 hours. 4 artillery systems were also knocked out today, along with 1 MLRS, 1 aircraft, 4 drones, and 12 supply trucks. So all in all, a pretty good day. Once again, the Bobcat skid steers are safe again. Now it's a killdozer, so very interesting change in graphics, but it looks like that one is safe. They're not getting any of the skid steers today, but they did get a decent amount of supply trucks, which is very interesting to see, because considering the current frontline situation, we don't see that often anymore. In fact, we rarely ever see large numbers of supply trucks like this getting knocked out. It's usually somewhere in between 4 to 7. But still, losses have been incredibly high, and for these losses, the Russians, of course, have gained nothing, really. It's been modest gains in the Solidar area. They've taken about another field to the north, and that's about it, and it's cost them 820 men in a single day. 9 tanks, 10 APCs, 4 artillery pieces, an MLRS, a jet aircraft, and 12 trucks, and also 4 drones to just take another field. These have got to be the most expensive fields, real estate-wise, in the world in terms of what the Russians are having to expend to take them. Like, you know, a single tank is about $3.5 million for the Russians. So they lost close to 30-something million dollars today in 10 tanks alone just to take the single field. Not only that, add the aircraft in, assume it's about like 45 million. They've just spent nearly $100 million for several acres of land. Very
I could say that's not worth it.
I would have to say, I think the land in Hong Kong at this point, what is my mouse doing? The land in Hong Kong at this point is cheaper than it is all the way in Ukraine just for the Russians to take a single field. And if y'all don't know anything about Hong Kong zoning laws, they are insane. That's why it's become so expensive to live in Hong Kong, is because no residential zoning is being added anymore. You have to live in this area or you're just screwed. Anyways, we're now going to be moving on from that interesting Russian losses report, because it is very interesting and, of course, quite nice. We're now going to be moving on from the location unknowns as a whole and moving on down into the northeastern area and going over the frontline analysis up here over the past 24 hours. But before we get to that, we have something pretty interesting to cover. We have to cover some of the polls, because a lot of y'all actually said some very interesting things about the Apache that we were showing on screen earlier on. So let's go over that poll and let's see what most people are thinking about it.
All right, so we have two polls to go over. The very first one says, do you think Apaches are in Ukraine? 56% said it's too early to tell, I need more evidence. 19% said they might be there, while 11% said they are most likely there, and 14% said that they were unsure. For me, I've got to say that we definitely need more evidence. It looks like it's way too early to tell for certain, and I've seen a lot of folks making good arguments for why they're probably not there. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would also have to agree. I do believe we are going to need more evidence, because these pictures are not enough. And I'll show them again just in case you're new and joining into the stream. These are the pictures we saw earlier. I actually saw a super chat come in just a little while ago that I think addressed what this may be and what the patch is for on the side of the Apache. So we're not really sure if it is in Ukraine. I do believe that more evidence should be provided. However, one thing I will say, and I haven't seen American helicopter hangars a lot, but it doesn't really look like an American helicopter hangar. It looks like a hangar that's somewhere else. But beyond that, I don't really know. The pictures are very convincing. The helmet's obviously there. That's not Photoshop. It has a Teror patch on it. But beyond that, there's really no way to confirm whether this thing is in Ukraine or not. And that's also why, just in case y'all are like, yeah, you know, like, I don't know. That's why the title had a exclamation mark, question mark in it, because the title is also asking y'all the question, do y'all believe that this is there or not? Because the pictures are convincing enough to bring up the question. I don't really know if it is there or not, but a very interesting idea. I do think that we'll have to give some more evidence on that to give a definitive yes or no answer. If we see something in about 2 weeks' time that shows an Apache in Ukraine in action, we'll be able to confirm that's most likely an American Apache that was sent, and it is currently being used by the Terror unit, considering that that's the patch on the helmet. If we don't see that, then this may have been something else, like a photo op, a photo shoot, or something similar like that. But very interesting and very bizarre to think that this is a photo shoot of any kind at all. Also, Carta said that this patch may be photoshopped in. I would agree if it wasn't for the patch actually contouring with how the helmet is positioned on the camera. Because we can see right here, it's right there on the helmet. In the next one, it's further, it is further up. But also at the same time, you can see the shadow. It's got to be a good Photoshop. You can see the shadow that's reflecting off of the patch as it's moved further up. And you can also see that it's a different shape. It looks like it's actually attached to the Velcro there on the helmet. And then in the last picture, when you see right there, the patch in the same spot. Wait a minute, let me look at that one. You may have a point there. Let me look at this one.
Yeah, I gotta say, it looks a little sketchy to me.
It is fairly interesting. And we're going to wait and see if this is true or not, but it was a very interesting question, really bizarre, and I had to include it into the news because if this is Photoshop, this is one of the most bizarre-looking Photoshops I've ever seen, and the most bizarre reason to do one. But with that, I hope that does address the poll fairly well. We will be waiting on more news before we definitively say whether there is an Apache in Ukraine or not. Tonight, we're asking the question if they are. In the future, we'll confirm whether they are or not. We already know that the British have refused to send them for now, so we know that this cannot be a British Apache, and from what we know, it has an American patch on it. But we'll get to that in a little bit. And so with that, I hope that addresses that poll fairly well, because I'd agree with the majority of y'all. And with that, let's get on into the next one.
All right, and the question on the second poll says, what do you think caused the fatal helicopter crash? It looks like the most selected option is weather, fog, etc. 34% chose that, while 33% chose mechanical failure, 19% said operator error, and 14% said sabotage or enemy fire. On this one, I've got to say it's probably unlikely that it was enemy fire just because of the location it happened. I would probably go with the fact it's fog. I've seen a lot of people saying that, and I would lay odds it's that, although I really don't have any evidence to back it up, but I would say probably fog if I had to take a guess. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say that it is most likely some kind of a weather or pilot error that occurred in this crash. Of course, it couldn't have been shot down. It's too far away from the borders of Belarus and Russia to have been shot down by an air-to-air missile without that being mentioned. The Russians have also not taken any credibility or claim that they were able to do this, and it is certain that if they were the ones who had done it, they would have definitely stepped forward and pretty much stated that immediately. So I do feel like it was some kind of weather or pilot error involved, because we have heard a lot of stories, and many stories are everywhere on the internet, of helicopter pilots saying that in bad weather, it is very easy to become disoriented if you're not reading directly off of the instruments. And so the pilot may have not been doing that. The co-pilot may have also not been doing that either. And they felt that the helicopter was oriented upright when it actually wasn't, or it was going towards the ground, one or the other. Thorne said engine failure. That may also be an equal point, but it'd be very bizarre because the Puma actually has 2 engines that power the main rotor and tail rotor. It would be very bizarre for both of those to go out at the same time. With one engine, they could control crash land. With both out, they would crash. So it's a little bit more unlikely. It's not entirely out of the picture with the Super Puma for it to crash due to an engine failure. But I feel like it's one of the more unlikely options, but it's still a really good point to bring up. So with that, I hope we address that poll fairly well. Once again, we don't really know. And also, I saw a lot of people, Matthew, being like, this is the Enforcer being Perry Mason. And some people are like, that is obviously not Photoshop. Hey, I'm just saying, we don't really know at this point. I feel like it's probably not Photoshop, but at the same time, we can't really confirm if it's in Ukraine either. It's just a bizarre occurrence. Honestly, it's divided y'all half and half in the live chat. Like, I'm seeing people right now going, yes, it's in Ukraine. That is proof. And people going, not necessarily. It may just be something else. We don't really know. And that's
Hoodoo, Texas said he found the hangar supposedly in Katterbach, BY, Germany.
Let's look at that. How do you spell that? Katterbach, like this?
It's with a K. Yeah, that's it.
Katterbach. Helicopter.
And BY?
1 second. I'm going to pull up the helicopter hangar and let's see the interior of it. Images. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. So apparently,
Good work, Hoodoo.
So thank you so much, Hoodoo. That was a great help. So apparently we're getting a little bit more to the story. And also, that looks like the patch. That is the patch. That's the exact same patch on that Apache. So this is at Katterbach Army Airfield. So let's go type in Katterbach. Let's go look at it, because I think we may be getting a little bit more to the story than we had at the start. So here's Katterbach, right here, Katterbach. I'm not really sure which way it's pronounced. It actually has a 4.5-star review, which is really high for a military base. We have not seen that before. And it looks like it's right outside of Nuremberg, which y'all may know from times gone by, but it appears as though, and someone just said, oh my god, do your homework. Hey man, like, I've tried to do my best. That's why we brought it up as a question, man. Like, that's the whole point the stream's running. Anyways, it appears that this may actually be... Okay, that's the emblem. I swore that was the Ukraine flag for a second. I was like, huh? I was like, what? But it appears that may actually be a Ukrainian volunteer or a Ukrainian soldier, perhaps, that had been brought to Katterbach, and maybe they're getting training on the Apaches, and they took a picture of it because they were allowed to put it and also published it. If that is the case, that is really bizarre. That is really crazy. And it looks like we're getting a little bit further into the story here. So we'll see if we can get any more information. I got to thank y'all so much, like Hoodoo Texas, who just shared that with us, about where that really is, because the hangar matches up exactly. The helicopters at the Army Airfield match up exactly. Everything's matching up here. So it is at Katterbach. So apparently a Terror unit guy is at Katterbach, and he has an Apache helmet. So I'm guessing, making a logical assumption here, which may not be true, he must be getting training on the Apache. Or that's a Army helicopter pilot that put that patch on his helmet and took pictures of it, and now it's caused an entire fiasco on the stream. One or the other.
Man, who would have known that this would be such a contentious topic right here?
Yeah, I mean, like people are going to blows down there in the live chat right now, and I got to say this real quick. Everyone, just calm down for a second because the whole point we put that in the title and we put a question mark behind it is because we don't know if it was in Ukraine. That's why we put that up there. The pictures were wild. The idea of a Ukrainian patch being on a helmet anywhere near an Apache is pretty bizarre in its own right. So, and also considering that they said they're going to be needing a hellfire operator to hire soon, all of that's kind of suggesting that they may be getting one. We don't really know. So that's why we threw it up. Really interesting to hear that this is where the story's going.
Whatever the case may be, it probably gave the Russians a good scare for probably a good hour or so.
The Russians, man, were like, oh, they were like freaking out. Dude, they were getting the chocolate cake factories just ramped up. They were like, it's about to get bad. It's about to get bad out here. But hey, interestingly enough, we finally found out it's not in Ukraine, it's in Germany. So we're actually going to change that little marker here on stream. And we're also going to change the title real quick, considering that we got a little bit more information. We're going to put Apache helicopter going to Ukraine, ? So that way, now that we've cleared it up, oh, it's gone over the word limit. Ukraine war, let's see, Ukraine war news. Yeah, we'll put that in. So war news, there we go. So there we go. So now the question's changed, the topic's changed. Now we're going to try and figure out if they're going to Ukraine or not in the future. It seems as though they're being trained on them, though. Anyways, with that, we're going to be moving on into our next poll, if we have one.
So that was our last poll. And also, I see the bots are hot and heavy tonight. My goodness. There's like, I think I've eliminated 15 of them so far. So,
dude,
Teror and his men and Prigozhin are not happy.
Dude, talking about an Apache on this stream has literally brought out the bots. That's bot bait. Like, we need to bring that up again here in the next few days so that we can just go through and call some more bots. This is crazy.
Oh no, it was probably the Prigozhin talk, to be honest, when we were talking about him getting like offended. I think that's what brought him in.
Dude, like the Russians probably have higher casualties in the bot war than they do in the actual war at this point, just on this channel alone.
Yeah, probably.
I mean,
so,
like, dang. They can't win anywhere. They especially don't win here because we put that stuff on lockdown immediately. Anyways, with that, let's get on into the next poll.
All right, so that was our last poll. So we're moving on to our super chat questions. And up first, we have a very generous $100 donation from Paul Fitzgerald, who is a channel legend, and says, Ukraine will get Abrams, I hope.
We hope. Also, I saw someone earlier on in the live chat, very interesting point, but I have a counter for it. They said that the Abrams maintenance is classified, and so it won't be sent to Ukraine. That is by and large untrue. The Iraqis have Abrams right now. Most of their army uses Abrams at this moment. And if they can have them, and we don't care about them using them, considering how dangerous that could be, considering that several Abrams actually fell into control of ISIS back in the mid to late 2010s, it is definitely for certain a guarantee that we are perfectly fine with sending Abrams anywhere. Probably the older versions like the M1A1 or the M1A1HC. We're definitely not sending the M1A2s or the M1A2 SEPs. That would just be asinine. But sending an M1A1 or an M1A1HC, definitely not out of the question. I think that's something that we may see here in the future. And another thing that was interesting, if y'all didn't know, I actually have talked to the Denis Davidov, which y'all have seen on stream before, and I asked him some questions about what he thought on the Abrams, and he said it may be a little bit more difficult to maintain for the Ukrainians because the jet turbine for the Abrams is a little bit more different than the T-80s that they use that have jet turbines as well. And so I proposed this alternative, because one thing we know is that you can't guarantee on the Germans for continued support. Right now, they're still waffling on the Leopard. They waffled again today, and they're now going more into the direction of no again. So I wouldn't count on them for anything, because we don't know if one day they send the Leopards and then the next day they go, we're not going to help maintain them, and then they just start breaking down on the front lines and there's no maintenance. What I suggested was that the United States sends the Abrams to Ukraine, but we do this as well. We send them a couple of billion. I would say probably $2 to $3 billion would definitely do the job, and also provide for some other things. $1 billion to Ukraine, but we almost make it like a categorical grant here in the United States to a state government. And we say this $2 to $3 billion has to be used to upgrade railroad infrastructure. We upgrade railroad infrastructure in vital areas of the country, so that way the railroads in Ukraine can keep up the capacity, well, keep up with the capacity that they'll be having, then the Abrams can be used, and once they start to run into some maintenance issues, load them on board trains further behind the lines and ship them right out of Ukraine back into Poland to go to maintenance stations, maintain them, and then send them right back in. That way, if there is a decent amount of Abrams operating in Ukraine, the Ukrainians will have the railroad infrastructure to deal with shipping them into the country and out of the country without impeding any other supply or passenger operations on those rail networks, and also it will ensure that the Abrams can keep running. I think, in my opinion, that may be one of the best solutions to getting Abrams there. Obviously, the Ukrainians do not have the ability to maintain everything we give them. Sometimes they're just a little behind the curve with Western technology because they've never really had it. So we have to try and make sure that we can maintain it for them, but they can use it. And I think that may be one of the best workarounds possible. If y'all don't think so, let me know. If y'all agree, let me know, because I'm always interested to hear what y'all think. Just keep it sensible, though, and really polite, because I don't ever try and get rude with y'all, unless if it's a bot, then we just roast them. But I think that would be a pretty interesting idea. So with that, we are now going to be moving on to, I think, the next poll. Do we have another poll, or are we moving? Oh, wait a minute. That was Paul Fitzgerald. Dagnabbit. I got so caught up in the polls. You run like 3 polls, and then there's like 3 questions, so I get caught up in the polls. But anyways, I thank you so much for the support, Paul Fitzgerald. And if the United States does something like that, we may see that there could be Abrams in Ukraine. It may actually be a possibility. For now, it is off the table, though. It appears that the United States isn't a big fan of doing that. But I feel like with everything, they will turn around in the future. Because remember, the United States said at one point, we're never sending AGM-88 harms to Ukraine. And then we saw them in use. And then they finally said, oh, yeah, we sent them like months ago. And they've been using them fairly well. So anyways, with that, thank you so much once again for the support, Paul. You are helping out this channel massively. And I hope we addressed that comment fairly well. And thank you so much once again for helping this Leaf Spring Army to keep on rolling. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, I see some folks asking about Operator Starsky. Apparently, he hasn't uploaded recently or something. I'm not really sure, but have we heard from him recently?
I think I heard from him about a day or 2 ago. I'll shoot him over a message, see if he's okay. Let's see here. Let's see, you good, homie? There we go.
Did you send that for real?
Yes, I did.
Oh my god.
And we'll see what we get as a response. If we don't get one, maybe we'll be concerned. I feel like he's probably okay, though, hopefully. And so with that, I hope that allays those fears, at least for the moment. And we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one is from Paul Fitzgerald. Once again, he puts in another $100 donation and says, keep the law school fund going. And thank you, Paul. We definitely need that fund to keep going, man.
And thank you so much, Paul, for supporting the law school fund, because law school is prohibitively expensive. It's more expensive than public school, and that's not really surprising. I don't know why I'm saying that like it's surprising, but it kind of is to me. So thank you so much for supporting that, because we definitely do need that support to keep this channel running and to also keep us moving on into the future, so that way I can become y'all's president in 2040. Also, Alex for Alex in said Enforcer has the hookup. Yes, I do. I actually have Starsky's WhatsApp. I also have Dennis WhatsApp as well. I have everyone's WhatsApp. Like, I know everyone. I also have the president's WhatsApp, and I could message Zelensky. I'm just kidding. I don't have Zelensky's WhatsApp. Maybe I'll get it one day. Maybe I'll get to the point of collecting that one too. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one. But I gotta thank you so much once again, Paul, for not only sending one super chat, a massive one, but the second one. And I gotta thank you so much for helping this thing to keep on running, because if it wasn't for you, Paul, this wouldn't be possible. A lot of viewers like you help us to keep this thing running, and you are definitely one of the ones who help us to keep everything going behind the scenes and help us to keep the lights on. And so with that, we are moving on to the last one of the segment. Or should we cover 2 more, since Paul Fitzgerald has been both of them?
Oh, we can if you want, or we can cover the next one.
We'll just cover the next one.
Okay, yeah, I was about to say. But anyways, our next one goes to Jay Byrne, who puts in a $50 donation and says, thank you both for all you do, and please take a question from the chat, and Slava Ukraine. And also, thank you, Jay Byrne.
And thank you so much, Jay Byrne, for supporting this channel and helping us to keep this thing running. That kind of support is huge to us and helps us to keep this thing rolling. And also, we will take a question from the chat. And I thank you so much for supporting us once again, to help us to keep doing what we do. Because everyone's always thanking us in the Super Chats for doing what we do, but those Super Chats actually support us so that way we can keep doing this. So in a way, really all the things for what we're doing goes to you, because without you, we wouldn't be able to keep this thing rolling at all. So let's get on into that question from the chat. And also, before we do, Matthew, Slava Ukraini.
And also, the question from the chat is going to go to, let's see, JP's RCs, who says, do you think Putin is planning an advanced assault on the 1-year anniversary of the start of the so-called special military operation, February 24th?
I don't think so. I'm a little skeptical about that because, I mean, we don't really hear a lot. I mean, like, everyone's always talking about, oh, it's coming, but you got to remember that there's always hype surrounding everything. Belarus is always joining the war monthly. You know, they're just about to in the next few days every month. Also, this was purported to be happening on May 9th. Remember that, Matthew, the May 9th hype? Where, oh no, May 9th is coming around.
Yeah.
The Russians are going to declare a full-on war. They're going to completely mobilize their military. They're going to come in and steamroll the Ukrainians on Victory Day. And they didn't. And now we're going into February again. We're about to be in February. And none of these things have ever coalesced. On top of that, we also have to remember, and it's almost like it's completely evaded everyone, like in terms of like their thinking around the Ukraine war community, is that the Russians have almost run out of supplies. I mean, they can hardly run anything down in the southern eastern area right now. They're putting everything they can into Bakhmut, and they're only taking about a field a day and losing about 900 guys for it. And also loads of tanks, loads of APCs, loads of supply trucks. I don't know how in the world they would manage again to send forces all across the Belarusian border, all the way down to Kharkiv again, and then try and push in. We never saw that either when they left from Kyiv. They left Kyiv after the first 2 months of fighting, and they never went back. And they've never gone back to anywhere they've left. They've never tried to push back into it. So I don't think they will. I'm not necessarily a big fan of the idea that the Russians are going to start up a second offensive in the north. And not only that, unlike the first time, which around this time, mind you, there was satellite pictures coming out from U.S. satellites like the Maxar showing Russian military camps around the Ukrainian border in all directions, and we were getting very clear maps and information about how many forces they had built up, where they were, and what their camps looked like. We're not getting any of that this time. We haven't seen a single satellite picture of large buildups of forces elsewhere. And you got to remember, the Russians were doing that ever since late November and early December of 2021. And then they took them months to build up those forces to start off at February 24th of 2022. We're not seeing that this time. Well, I haven't seen any camps or any satellite pictures of them for that matter at all. And if we saw that, I would say, oh yeah, this is about to go down. But we're not seeing them. So I don't think it's actually going to happen, in my opinion. But take it with a grain of salt, because, and then the away team said we warned they would be invading. I did. If we don't have satellite pictures to back up where the camps are, I'm very skeptical. Because we also warned them that May 9th would be a big deal, and then it didn't turn into a big deal. And there's been other instances like that. And we also warned the Ukrainians that the Belarusians are going to be invading any day now, every month. So, I don't know. I mean, like, you know, I've got to admit, though, there is some credibility to it. But I don't see as much of it to actually have it as a viable concern right now, at least in my opinion. So with that, I hope that does address the live chat fairly well. And thank you so much, Jay Byrne, once again for the support and helping this thing to keep on running. And so with that, we're now going to be moving out of this question segment, and I'm going to be moving to North America. Because Matthew, you know, oh my God, thank you, Paul. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. We will address everyone who sent in a super chat tonight. But I got to thank you once again, Paul. That's unbelievable. But I'm going to have to take y'all all over to America, because tonight, Matthew, we're lifting the rule. I hate to tell you, Matthew, we're going to lift the rule. You know, the one where I talk about, you know, no politics. We're going to have to talk about some senators, Matthew.
Are you talking about the debt ceiling?
No, I'm just kidding. No, don't actually start talking about it. I'm just kidding. Canada is sending senator armored cars. I was trying to make a joke there where everyone's gonna be like, no, don't do it, and then we showed the senator armored cars, but she sat there and like, the debt ceiling. I was like, oh crap.
Wow.
But anyways,
that might be the coolest thing I've seen about Ukraine. Canada. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Well, I've seen some pretty cool Canadians come out of Canada.
Obviously people are cool, but that's a pretty cool vehicle.
Hey, man, the away team said, no, everyone is going insane. They haven't caught up with us yet. It's a senator armored car. We're not going into politics. We're never doing that. I was just joshing with y'all. Don't ever think we'd do something like that. That would be silly. Anyways, this thing about 200 of them are being sent by the Canadian Minister of Defense. And like Carter's like, oh, good. Oh, God, I was scared. Man, everyone switched immediately. And the away team was like, oh, well, you got, yeah, I'm glad I got you, man. That was the point. But I was starting to think, oh, I think they're taking this seriously. Anyways, this is an armored car being sent by the Canadians. It looks really, really good. Let's pull this thing up and get some more info on it. So, Senator, it's pulling up one for some reason, but let me go to the Senator APC. Oh, they got a website for it?
Oh, wow.
Wow, they got this thing all nice and everything. That sounded so stupid on my end, all nice and everything. Wow, really technical. But let's see, overview. We're just wanting to buy it for private purposes.
Oh, you can like build your own and everything like it's a regular car.
Chassis, fuel type. We want gas. Layout, number of seats. Holy moly, you can get 12 seats in this thing? What is this? Like
Wait,
an airplane?
did it come in diesel?
Yeah, you could get diesel. I mean, you know.
Oh, get the diesel. What are you, crazy?
I like gas.
There you go.
Let's see. Rear seating type, benches or mine protected seats. Mine protected seats.
Oh, mine protected all the way.
Number of side doors, we want 4. We want to make it like a sedan. Number of rear. Wow, you can really customize this thing, man. You can have 6 doors on this thing.
That's pretty cool, I gotta say.
Wow. Number of seats, let's put in 12. You know, just make it a chunky thing. Electrical. Let's see here. Yeah, we want a camera system, heated windshield, heavy duty winch, an HVAC system, an LED package. Just in case you want to rock up on those Russians with a whole LED kit on your APC. Really cool. And then a PA siren system. So that way you can say, light them up, boys. And they can hear it from 300 yards away. Technology. Smart access control system? Yeah, why not? Make a smart fridge. Fleet management system? Yeah, sure. Remote connectivity? So they got
no, we don't want that.
Nah, we don't want that. Contact details. So we can actually get a quote. If we put in the information here on this channel, we can get a quote from the company that makes these, which is apparently Rochelle, and actually get a quote for how much this thing would cost. I'm really interested how much this thing would cost. I'm really surprised that you can actually customize this thing at all. Like, that is so...
My guess is 800,000 plus. It's got to be.
I would guess so. Let's go down here and look at some of the... They've really gone way too far.
This is the Ford Super Duty, apparently, from the interior.
Dude, they have really kitted this thing out. Look how good it looks. Let's see, seating capacity up to 12. Golly, this thing's crazy. I really like this.
Oh, you can get all the way up to level, let's see, 4 protection.
You can protect you from a 30-aught, a 30-60? Or is that supposed to be 30-06?
I'm not really sure. They might have mistyped something.
Maybe they mistyped that. We'll let them know. That may be 30-06 or hell, I really don't know. I'm kind of at a loss right there. But man, this thing is cool. Look, they got a SWAT one. And also man, these things are just great. But let's see. How much does this thing cost? How much does a Senator AP?
I see some folks saying it's only 200,000.
No way. No way. I'm calling cap. A U.S. senator makes $154,700 per annum. That's not what we're talking about. Cost. Maybe that's what I put in that was wrong. Cost. You can't buy this military spec model, but a civilian version is available. What? Are you kidding? Really? Really? No way. How much does it cost? It doesn't say. Let's go down to the next one. $350,000. That's not bad.
That's actually not that bad.
That's not
really.
that bad. I thought it was going to be a whole lot more. That is not bad at all for what you're getting right there, and it's really impressive looking too. And also, you can apparently get it with a turret. No cap. On God. Like I'm not even. What's the other one that they say? I don't know. Anyways, we're going to be moving on because this is just insane, and I thought it'd be really cool to show y'all. And also, I hope y'all understand. I got a joke every once in a while, and I hope y'all understood. We're not going into politics ever. So with that, we're now going to be moving on into the rest of the news, starting off in the northeastern area near Kremenna, because the front line in this area has been somewhat inactive. I mean, if we look, there's been this little movement here. The Ukrainians have expanded the no man's land here, and that's it. Nothing's changed in the entirety of the northeastern area. And if we go down here to this little clip, we can see the 25th Brigade hitting some tanks. Skyco said I was able to buy off my senator for 50,000. Oh man, get out of here. Oh man,
Oh, it's a bop.
man, a whole bop. It was so good it made the video lag, and it gave me time to mute it. You know, maybe the Senator armored cars ought to be the armored cars of the Lee Spring Army. I don't know. But anyways, when you see the tank getting hit, ammunition detonated, that's what the white smoke is for. We can now see it churning up a small little flame back there in the back, getting nice and warm. You can see it toasting, roasting. It's definitely not boasting. Call this thing a Boston baked butt because it's been cooked up good. Or a Boston butt. I was thinking Boston baked beans and Boston butts at the same time. I said Boston baked butt. That's not what it is. It's a Boston butt. And that's the end of the clip, but another tank has bitten the dust somewhere in the Crimea area, and another $3.5 million have been lost by the Russians. We're now going to be moving out of the northeast and past the Belorussian, Verkno-Kamyanka area and down into Soledar, because as y'all can tell over the past week, once again, this is where most of the activity is occurring anywhere in Ukraine right now. If we zoom out, you will see that everything else is incredibly sparse, but when you zoom into the Bakhmut area, the largely purple dots start turning into every single color. Bakhmut is pretty much the only active area in Ukraine right now as far as ongoing heavy battles. And so with that, we're going to be moving into the northern flank and seeing what's been happening here today, and the Russians, of course, have still continued to make modest gains, although there really appears to be no clear aim to them. They are moving up this road towards the small village of Krasnopolivka, and it looks like they may be trying to go to Pereizne or Vasyulkivka, but beyond that, the move is very odd. Also, we saw that they were able to move into Blahudatne today, so the Ukrainians are now fighting on the ridgeline somewhere in this area, most likely hitting them with drone fire here. But once again, when you look at this battlefield, the gains have been somewhat small and aren't really amounting to much of anything, especially in the actual aim of taking Krasnohora, which is the northern flank's large second defensive line, and also Bakhmut as well. Meanwhile, in the southern front, we also saw that no movement has been made whatsoever. The Ukrainians are apparently holding the Russians in Klishkivka, denying them an advance up onto the ridgeline, and holding the Russians down in the south that have been able to move up and onto the ridgeline. So it appears as though the situation is somewhat under control, although the northern flank is still somewhat concerning. The Russians are gaining some ground here, and considering that they've now moved into Blahudatne, the situation may be getting a little strenuous up here, and Krasnohora may become a very important lynch point in the protection of the northern front. Moving on into our video news that we have from the area today, we did see the Ukrainians holding Soledar in this clip.
Нам така жопа, по нам танчик працює, гради працюють, я грібу, всім працюють, мінометка стріляє, один одного шукають, коротше. Тут такий бардак відбувається, що я просто в шокі, коротше. І ми з Олешкою в однаковому шокі.
Man, was that an Israeli volunteer? Did you see that? That it is an Israeli volunteer.
Oh, what do you know?
Cool. We don't really see a lot of Israeli volunteers.
Це така жесть. Я вам кажу. Але все буде добре. Якщо ми вижимо, звісно.
Опа.
Hear a round fly overhead and explode nearby.
Ох, ну ж. Ну така жопа. Але головне позитив, да? Там
Право 001. Право 001.
They're just getting a good laugh out of the whole thing. It's good to know that they're having a fun time out there. Of course, under shelling.
Коротше...
I like how you look a little paranoid for a minute.
He's like, I don't know.
Ой, я рот топтав. Казала мама, йди на програміста, нахіра воно тобі треба? Ні, поперся називається. Слава Україні.
And with that, that's the end of the clip. But as you can see right there, he's in fairly good spirits, although they're under shelling, and it appears that they are holding the area somewhat well, from what we can tell. Although the Russians, you know, I'm saying somewhat well, and we got to put it into context. The Russians took a small part of Blunder today and also moved through a field at the cost of 870 men dead. You know, and you always got to put that into context, because while they're making ground, they're losing so many men. It doesn't really even matter what type of ground they're taking. 870 guys are not worth a small part of a field and a small part of a village. You know, it's not. You can't look at that any way and mathematically equate 870 men to a field. That just doesn't work. Unless you're in the Civil War or something, then I guess it works. But here in the modern world, hell no. We're now going to be moving on into Soledar, where we saw the Wagner still getting hit by artillery again. Getting absolutely plastered, blasted, and everything in between. Here's the video. You got the lullaby playing or something. You see the Wagner guys down here just lying around, and when you see him look up at the drone, it looks like, oh, he flipped off the drone with a finger. As punishment, we're gonna have to drop a bomblet on him. Oh, well.
Why the hell did he just sit there laying there while he knew it was above his head?
Well, I mean, you know, there's sometimes they just like to sit there and think. I guess they pondered. I don't think he'll be flicking off a drone again, so it's good to know that at least they taught him some manners. With that, we're now going to be moving on into the next clip from the Soledar area, where we saw the PMC Wagner in action. Oh, buddy. This is the PMC Wagner artillery in action, and guess what? They made a video. Here's the video. They're using that sheet music boss music from his YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah.
He needs to get a copyright on that. Oh. Why does it sound like 1980s movie music, man? RoboCop's about to come out of the blue. We now see them loading the gun. Epic. Now they're loading the charge. Epic. Shoving it in. You see them firing. You see them loading. Quickly! They're trying to make this like an action movie with the music, but they're moving so sluggishly that it just can't. Like, look. Look at this guy, he's struggling with a charge and everything, and they got like the fast, epic music playing like they're supposed to be reloading this thing like grease lightning. Man, and that orange smoke, oh my god. The powder is like 50 years old at least. Oh, they're reloading it again. Epic. Amazing. Incredible. And, you know, it's really stupid whenever you watch a Wagner unit film, because they use such hyped up music. They're trying so hard. I gotta tell you, Russians really do have that cringe syndrome. You know, like where they just do nothing but cringe. Like the Volodymyr guy sitting down there. We are wolves among sheep. You know, all that crap. Like, they just do that on everything.
Yeah, it's really cringe. It's cringe to the extreme.
Yeah, I think they've totally lost composure, and I don't know how people buy Russian propaganda. It's really got to be, if someone buys Russian propaganda, seeing what it actually is, you've got to be a really sad person that's somewhat delusional, that thinks you're like the center of the world and you're like the tough guy out of all the weak people or something. That's got to be like the mindset you have to believe Russian propaganda, because that's almost all it is. Like, it's like that kind of mindset personified in film and media, and that's it. Like, there's nothing else to it. It's not like, you know, economic progress or anything like that. It's just, I'm strong. That's it. Oh, man. And then Jets115 said, everything is cringe? Everything's cringe. If it comes from the Russians, it's cringe. I promise. This is cringe. So with that, we're going to be moving on out of the northern front. And we're now going to be moving down into Bakhmut proper, where we've gotten the most news today. There's been a lot going on in the center of the line, and we saw, as our first clip, an update from Bakhmut from the one, the only, y'all asked about her last time, because apparently there's a lot of, wait a minute, I'm sorry, this is the different update. I'm sorry. We're going to be getting to the witch in a minute, because I know a lot of y'all simped for the witch. But here's our first update from Bakhmut.
Вітання, Україна. коротко, оперативна ситуація,
You know, I was wondering if Evolution Tactical was a bot earlier, Matthew. He outed himself.
Yeah, stolen valor right there, trying to pretend like he was serving in the Foreign Legion.
По місту Солідару. Наші підрозділи тримають лінію оборони на визначених рубежах, знищуючи при цьому вщент зруйнованому містечку піхотні групи противника, і в яких основна мотивація – це $400 за добу. Чому ми спостерігаємо такі суїцидальні штурми абсолютно. Працює артилерія, міномети, аеророзвідка в тісному тандемі, виявляються підрозділи ці, знищуються. Застосування бронетехніки практично дуже мало, вкрай рідко, тому що вони виявляються і протитанковими засобами знищуються. Там все просто і зрозуміло. Їм треба якась побєда. 11-тисячне маленьке містечко на большую побєду взагалі ніяк не тягне. Це якщо коротко. Наші підрозділи знаходяться там, займаються тою справою, яка є визначена, і тими завданнями командуванням, тримають рубежі там, де визначено. Ніякої зрадоньки нема, всі на своїх місцях, всі чітко працюють. По Бахмуту. По Бахмуту ситуація така. Лінія оборони проходить навколо міста. Посилились артилерійські обстріли. Як посилились, там інтенсивність більше, менше, вона вже це з самого початку там така. Місто руйнується, але підрозділи, які тримають рубежі, знаходяться на своїх позиціях. Там бої такого масштабу, як захвата копчика або кусочка посадки, припідносяться пропагандистами російськими як визначні досягнення, але насправді це тільки розраховано на їхню біомасу. То, що вони намагаються там через Кліщіївку, Красну Гору пролізти, нашому командуванню це також добре відомо. Всі міри, які потрібно, приймаються. Всі рішення, які командуючий Збройними силами приймає, вони...
And that's the end of the summary clip that we were able to get today from him, but it appears that they are, of course, inflicting high casualties onto the Russians in the area and holding the ground as best they can, considering they're literally going up against an onslaught of a human wave, practically. And, of course, in the face of that, you will lose some ground, but in the meantime, they were wiping a good amount of them out. With that, we're now going to be moving on into the next clip where, it's the fun. It's the fun that you all want. It is Savich of Bakhmut, or Savich in total, and she is in Bakhmut today. So, here's the clip of Savich, because I know a lot of you are simp, so it's time for everyone to go, wow, that's the witch! So here's the clip.
Бахмут споплюжений.
Oh, it's lagging. Why is every video lagging at that point? That's weird. Let me skip forward a little.
Зруйнований. Але український. Я думаю, що ми все відбудуємо. Окупант все одно заплатить нам за реконструкції всіх будинків, заплатить нам за ту шкоду, яку він наносить. Це місто...
Vaporius, where the hell did you get that emoji from? What is that?
І тричі їм це вдавалося зовсім ненадовго. Тут живе український дух, тут живе козацька історія. А отже, це місто завжди буде українським.
And so with that, that's the end of the clip. But there you go. There was the witch for a moment. Also, Matthew, this one was funny. And I don't think Elder One, you've seen what Matthew and me have seen, because he said, I think we were hearing projection from the Enforcer on the witch. No, you don't believe it, man. Every time we ever show the witch, like Matthew and me watch the live chat every single time, it goes wild. Like people
We see some simps.
Yeah, we see some simps. Like we see some crazy stuff. So with that, we're going to be moving on from the witch in Bakhmut today. And also, just in case the witch is watching, really good content you make. And also, I was wanting to let you know, just in case you didn't know, Starsky is single. And he is ready to mingle. So make sure to go over there and talk to him. Starsky right now, Matthew, he's getting ready his press release. I am not into a women of Ukraine. He's like, I'm not really.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are moving on into the next clip, closer to the Bakhmut front, where we saw once again the Chechen Mount Serb battalion using the RPG fire extinguisher thing. So here's the clip. I'm gonna mute it, but you can see the fire extinguisher thing. You see him aiming it, and you see him fire it right there. And the video stopped again at the 5-second mark. So weird. We can now see him getting another one. They've made many of these things. Apparently they work. Let's see if it goes, if it travels. Oh, it did. Oh my god, that thing actually goes distance.
Let's see it again.
Look at that, man. The fire extinguisher can go like 400 yards. Look at that go. All the way out there.
Wow, you think the kick on that would be extreme, but it looked like he managed it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, that was crazy. Also, it's crazy to think that they can launch the fire extinguisher that far. I wasn't expecting that, honestly, to say the least. But it was able to get on out there.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, it also looked like, Matthew, it wasn't really extinguishing any fires out there when it blew up. I think he was starting them. But anyways, we're now going to be moving on from this crazy clip of the Chechen Mansur battalion using these RPGs with fire extinguisher warheads, and we're now going to be moving on down to the town where we saw Al Jazeera. And some of y'all may know that the news outlet Al Jazeera has been around for quite some while and reports its own flavor of news, much like many mainstream news groups do. They were in Bakhmut today, and they nearly got hit by an artillery shell on video. So here's the clip. About 100 yards, maybe a little closer than that, maybe even 40 or 50. That was really close.
Postavila u vozilu, snimila je trenutak udara dvije minobacačke granate, vjerovatno kalibra 120 mm, u stambenu zgradu preko puta.
We see another round come in right across the street from this time closer. And that's seen in the clip, but that is absolutely bizarre. We've seen this several times now on film over the course of the war, but news reporters coming under almost direct fire from the enemy. It's insane, and also I bet you it's incredibly scary for the reporters as well, because usually they try and stay away from the front lines most of the time, but this is right on them, almost right on top of them, as a matter of fact. So with that, we're now going to be moving on from that clip inside of Bakhmut and further on down the line, where we also saw that the Ukrainians were able to capture a Russian soldier, not just any Ukrainians, the Freedom of Russia Legion. And so here's the clip.
В общем, все чуть не так, как я себе представлял. Наверное, все чуть не так, как вы себе это представляли. Но жизнь вносит свои коррективы и делает так, как в жизни, а не так, как мы себе это можем представить в своих фантазиях. Что я вам могу сказать? Рашисты, они несут просто адские потери по Бахмуту. Но только один вот этот вот минометный расчет, минимум по подсчетам, уже подтвержден. 20 человек, 20 рашистов, не человек, конечно, рашистов, 20 стер с лица земли только за ночь. Это не считая потери, раненых и всех прочих неподтвержденных потерь. 20 это уже точно подтверждено.
We see him wandering
Вчера
through.
мы с Тихим и с нашими
He's got a one of his eyes. They're a little purple.
братьями по оружию отражали очередной штурм Бахмута. В это время к нам на позиции приехал Владимир Золкин, взял у нас интервью, мы пообщались. Тем временем на соседнем участке наши братья по оружию взяли в плен военнослужащего.
Проценко Евгений Вячеславович родился в 92 году, 16 декабря. Город Янакиево, Донецкая область, Украина.
Владимир и Дмитрий, мы хотим передать вам ваш обменный фонд. Слава Украине!
Героям слава!
Подписывайтесь на канал, YouTube канал, Telegram канал. Подавайте свои заявки в чат-бот. Если вы хотите присоединиться к батальону, к региону Свобода России, то вы можете это сделать. Если вы хотите присоединиться к партизанскому движению, оно тоже существует реально, Легиона Свобода России, которое действует непосредственно на территории России, вы тоже можете это сделать через этот чат-бот. Ну и так вот вместе мы, безусловно, победим. Слава Украине, свободу России.
That's the end of the clip, but once again, nice to see that the Freedom of Russia Legion is out there fighting for Ukraine, and of course helping them on the good fight, and also capturing some of their own as prisoners. So fairly interesting to see, and good to know that they're out there. Also, The Freedom of Russia Legion actually commented on one of our videos before, which I thought was really cool, and that was just like 2 or 3 days ago. Anyways, we're now going to be moving on down into the front lines, where we saw a drone engaging some Russians in the Bakhmut area. So here's the clip, with the faint sound of Matthew typing away in the background.
Only you can hear that. I asked the audience a second ago.
I hear click, 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 click. You see the drone getting ready to take off. It's now on its way right off the top of a high-rise. And it's now traveling on around.
Он дальше отлетел, смотришь, как картинка сразу хорошая стала. Блять, так быстро летит. Ну реально, пацаны на майке тут тратят несколько минут, пока вот это все пролетят. На этом просто. Я не знаю. Ну где-то 75-80 я летел.
I see it flying over some suburbs.
Не на максимуме летел. На среднячке. Да, если на максимуме у него дома были бы внизу, ну, он бы угол камеры был бы, знаешь,
This thing is going on a little trip.
Скаут 300. Вот этот завод. Там миномет.
What the hell did that even mean, Matthew? Like, I just saw you ban that bot. I was reading. I was like, what?
Just crazy. Also, Paddington said 1999 wants their graphics back.
It's Chechnya in 1994. Yes, we would like the camera back, please. When you see it flying around looking for some stuff.
Просто антенна сзади осталась. И связь, видишь, какая? Отличная. Дистанция где-то 3 километра.
I see it going down towards a large building, almost flying directly on top of it. It's now orbiting the area again. It looks like it's trying to find a Russian in this area. Still floating around, still looking. We haven't found anything yet, nothing of note.
Вот эта дорога, это край Бахмута. Это называется треугольник. И вот за треугольником сразу окопы. Вот сейчас начнется.
Also, the stick on it is an explosive, if you're wondering what that thing is down there. It's a bomb.
Там уже позиции. Вот окопы. Раньше были
So he's still flying around. It looks like he's flying over a large trench work now. Not just gliding on their way over it.
Скорость.
Still looking around. Haven't seen anything of note yet.
Видишь, я вдоль всего окопа пролетел. Скопления не увидел.
Dodging the telephone poles. Still a little trench down there. Now spinning the thing hard 180. They're looking back at the trench. Flying over it again.
Отличный сигнал. Вот.
Now, it looks like I may have found a guy, although I haven't really been able to see him too well.
Там два было.
This is kind of reminding me of something, Matthew.
1-200, 1-300.
What's that? A video we've seen before, but it's a whole lot more. Oh, wait a minute, nope. No.
Oh!
Well, it looks like it may have gotten one of them. And very interested to see that thing on its mission from start to finish. It took off and hit someone in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Absolutely wild, actually. And also, once again, DGI. With that, we're now going to be moving on from that little clip. Fairly wild to see the entire mission from start to finish. And someone said, laying flat. Yes. The new Chinese thing of laying flat. I bet y'all have seen that documentary on YouTube somewhere where the guy's like, but why do Chinese people decide to lay flat? They lay flat because they want to. They're, you know, all that stuff. Anyways, we're moving on into the last clip from the center where we saw the fighting in Bakhmut continuing. We're gonna have to mute that. That's some tunes. See them firing. See them in a basement. You see a red light. You see a green light. You see them walking through some rubble. And now see them sitting in a building, just chilling. They're now down in a basement again. They're now outside. Now walking down the steps, clearing off a seat of glass. Now getting in the car. And that's the end of the video. And right there it says Dali Vuri. Dali Vuri. I don't know what that means. But with that, that's
have the Russians started swinging around from what's that place? Soledar yet?
No, it appears not. It appears that they are just starting to move north, which without aim. Like if we look over the past few days of movement, most of the movement in this area has been moving north up towards the area of Perizny. We don't really know why, and it may be that they're trying to move even further up and into a weaker area of the line. We don't really know, but it's a really bizarre move. They're not swinging forward.
Yeah, I would say
around,
very
though.
bizarre.
Anyways, with that, we're now going to be moving out of the center in our last clip. We're now going to be moving down all the way to the south near the Klishkivka area, where we saw some Ukrainian soldiers firing off an RPG in the snow. We see it's got music. You know it's not a clip without music. We can see them firing off their RPGs here. First one, boom. Second guy moves up, aims his... Oh, one of them tripped. He's now getting back up. Second guy's aiming. And kablooey. This guy tripped again. Poor guy. He's like hitting every single branch in the area. He's now running out. Everyone's getting tripped up by the branches. Jeez, those things must be tricky. The third guy, though, he didn't. He was just sprinting like a cheetah. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And you saw a Ukrainian unit firing off their RPG-7s, almost like a small little, I guess we'd say mortar battery or a mortar itself. With that, we're now going to be moving on from that clip and on out of the, I guess you say the actual southern front and further back behind the line, where we saw some Ukrainian helicopters providing indirect fire with their unguided rockets. Here's the clip. You see the helicopter out there in the distance, turning back around after firing off his rockets. The second one's coming up. It also appears to be an Mi-8 or an Mi-17. It's now tilting up, firing off its rockets. Now taking that left turn and firing off its flares.
I would love to see the rockets that they shoot up in the air like that actually hit their target. I'd be curious to see how that works, how they come back down.
We've seen that a couple of times, actually, man. It's just that they're so few and far in between, it's hard to remember. But usually, it's actually somewhat accurate. It falls within a very large radius, though, but it does saturate its target. So with that, we're now going to be moving out of the Bakhmut area. Of course, the front line is only moving in the Soledar area by and large, and they're starting to move north towards Perizny, and we still have no idea why. We have really no clear clue or solution as to what they would be planning on doing. Anyways, we're now going to be moving out of the area of Bakhmut and further on down the line and into the area of Avdiivka, where we saw some Russians getting hit by artillery. Again. Oh, this one was deleted. So we're going to have to move on from this clip and on into the next, further down in Avdiivka, where we saw a Russian SPG getting hit here too. You see it?
На нахуй!
На!
Jaga jaga!
На нахуй! Ай, блядь!
Why in the world did this guy just sound like he got off like a cocky joke, man? This is like, oh yeah? Well, your mom.
На нахуй! Ай, блядь!
That's almost what he sounds like. He's like, oh boy, the joke. It's just still so good. But they got the SPG. And so with that, that's the end of that little clip. Once again, nice to see. And we're now going to be moving on into the last clip of news in the Donetsk area. And we just got here, where we saw some Ukrainian troops hitting some risky positions. Fairly well, mind you. You see them getting the RPGs ready.
Casually walking around with a few RPGs.
Uh-huh. Insert the cool music that's in every other video clip. This time it's not here nicely enough. We can see them moving on up. Now here's some kind of shot in the distance. The here, and now here a machine gun laying down some fire in some very small controlled bursts as the rest of the squad now advances across the field. The point man, I guess we are going to call him, he's carrying the RPG. Oh, wait a minute, this is a continuation of the video of yore. This is the whole thing where they're tripping over the branches and stuff.
Oh.
Poor guy, he did it twice. Now here comes the second. You'll see he trips on that one too, almost. Third guy fires. Now he's running back. He gets through them all just fine, though. Now they're turning around and they're falling back after firing off their RPGs. The machine gun is still laying down some fire. You hear something beeping. Machine gun still laying down fire. Apparently there are some soldiers still left in the field. Here's something explode in the distance. May have been another RPG firing. One guy's got bronchitis. The machine gun has now ceased firing, and apparently all the soldiers are now off the field. We still hear that thing beeping. I don't know what that is.
Sounds like it might be like a drone or something.
Maybe. We now see them withdrawing from the area. One guy fired off an RPG again outside the gate. He's now running back in. Someone needs to answer that voicemail, dang it. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And once again, nice to see the entire video there. And now that we actually know that it's not in the Pisky area, we're now going to move that up towards the southern front near Klishkivka, where the other video was located. So, there we go. And so now, we're moving out of the Donetsk area, because beyond that, there is no news to report from the area. But moving on down across the southern line and into the general area of Vasilivka, we saw some Chechens firing at the Russians again today. See them wandering around in the darkness. We now see them getting out, and incendiaries are cooking everything around them.
Dang. We hear some popping from the house next door. Most likely the wood exploding as the fire is causing some gas pockets to expand and explode within the wood.
He's looking at that barn like, damn, son, where'd you find this? You had to do it. I saw someone ask. I was like, yeah, I had to do it. See, practically everything will be burned to the ground by tomorrow morning. Dang, this guy's like getting up in the fire. That's, too close to that. I know. I feel like my eyebrows are getting seared just through the screen. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And I gotta say, it's of course horrendous to see the Russians using incendiary munitions on a town. It could have citizens in it, and they could be burning them alive along with the soldiers there as well. And of course, burning soldiers alive, from what we know, is also a war crime. With that, we're now going to be moving down on into the town of Mariupol. Well, the city of Mariupol, once with a population of 500,000 people, where a person today, we don't really know a lot about them, and we don't know why they did this, but they took a car and they drove through the old Azovstal metallurgical plant to the south of Mariupol in the port, and they actually showed us what it looks like now. And so with that, here's the video of what the Azovstal looks like as of today.
Ooh, goodness.
Yeah, it's looking terrible.
Man, it's looking like a scrap metal yard or something.
Yeah, it gets worse when he gets into it because there's still destroyed vehicles everywhere. BMPs, armored cars, stuff like that. Well, you see the first BTR over there to the right. We can also see another one right there. We see that the entire Azovstal was practically leveled. So once again, just a reminder of what happened during the first 90 days of the war and what the Russians did to the Azovstal defenders. And what's crazy is that this guy is driving through probably one of the most fiercely fought battles in the entirety of the war. This was a street that was right on the perimeter of that battlefield. So with that, we're now going to be moving on from that clip. Very crazy to think that that battle wound down on day 90 of the war, and we thought that was a long time into that war. That was a massive siege. That was the craziest thing we had ever seen. And now we're on day 330. And 90 days doesn't seem that long in comparison anymore to 330 days, but you gotta give a lot of credit to the besieged defenders of Mariupol and the Azovstal. They were in that town for 90 days without a resupply at all, and were able to hold it for that long. Truly impressive by modern standards, and something that should be admired. With that, we're now going to be moving on from the Mariupol area and the Azovstal, and we're now going to be moving up into the town of Dnipro, because today we saw that a surgeon was able to save some of the lives of the citizens that found themselves within the rubble of the destroyed apartment building that was hit by the 2,000-pound explosive. With that, here's the video, of course, courtesy to Radio Free Europe.
Первые мгновения я жене говорю, давай быстренько одеваемся, берем документы и по лестнице убегаем. Ну, мы это сделали там буквально, наверное, за минуту, все очень быстро. И когда мы хотели выбежать из квартиры на лестничную площадку, я увидел, что лестничной площадки нету. Там пропасть до первого этажа. Из окна кухни светил им честником фонариком, чтобы они видели, что я есть. У меня была твердая уверенность, что так, наверное, в каждой квартире происходит. Потом, как оказалось, что светил только один я. Наверное, потому что у меня толком-то и ран нету, кроме рассеченного лба. А раненые люди, им просто было не до того, чтобы подползти к окну и светить фонариком. Я сразу заметил, что у жены обильно кровит висок. Что можно было сделать в тех условиях, сделал. Ранение в височной области, вот, с артериальным кровотечением. Крови она потеряла прилично, потому что просто до оказания помощи прошло 3,5 часа.
Вона сиділа на кухні. І її чоловік прийшов додому, якраз виключили світло, і було дуже холодно в квартирі, тому що не було опалення. І він її просто позвав і каже, іди до мене, ляж, трішки зігріємося. І тільки коли вони накрилися ковдрою, стався цей вибух. Ось саме 9-й поверх, де кондиціонер, це саме та кімната, в якій вони залишилися живі. У Ольги була дуже сильна кровотеча, але дякувати Богу, що її чоловік хірург, і він зміг їй допомогти. Він стискав постійно рану, перев'язував її. І вже коли вони приїхали до лікарні, коли вже їй допомогли, вона там втрачала свідомість. І вона наступного дня, я навіть з нею намагалася якось поговорити, але вона, є такі моменти навіть, що вона не пам'ятає, що взагалі було. Це взагалі диво, їх диван стоїть нижче підвіконня, і коли все почало летіти в квартиру, воно просто пролетіло мимо них і почало осипатися, і таким чином вони отримали всі ці рани і пошкодження. Вона втратила багато крові, але зараз лікарі кажуть, що стан більш стабільний, вже взяли всі аналізи, перевірили, зробили рентген і таке інше. Зараз вони в лікарні.
машине. Мне нужен Зеленской, блядь, зачистить.
And of course, that's the end of the clip, courtesy to Radio Free Europe. And it's good to know that people are doing their best to try and help out the ones that were injured and the ones that were able to survive. With that, we're now going to be moving on from the town of Dnipro, and once again, a continuation of that unfortunate story that occurred a few days earlier in the week. And we're now going to be moving up to Kyiv to cover the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 330 of the war in Ukraine. And once again, he will also reiterate the loss of the ministers who were killed in the helicopter crash in the Super Puma in the area of Brovary today. Without further ado, here's the speech.
Українці, українки, минає черговий день цієї страшної війни, цих трагедій, які переживає наш народ. Жахливий день, який ми мусимо пройти, мусимо витримати. І ми витримаємо. Майже 9 годин тривала рятувальна операція в Броварах Київської області на місці падіння вертольота ДСНС. До гасіння пожежі, пошуку, порятунку поранених, до першочергових слідчих дій були залучені сотні людей, наші рятувальники, наші працівники поліції, бійці Нацгвардії, медики, психологи, працівники Служби безпеки України. Я дякую усім, хто сьогодні був задіяний у цій рятувальній операції. Хочу зараз окремо подякувати вихователькам дитячого садочку, на територію якого впав цей вертоліт, пані Руслана, пані Олени, пані Тамара, пані Катерина та усі працівниці садочку. Я дякую вам, дякую за чіткі дії, за те, що виводили дітей. Дякую також звичайним мешканцям і мешканкам Броварів, зокрема пані Діані, пані Надії та іншим, які допомагали і діяти, і дітям допомагали, і пораненим. Дякую Глібу, Андрію, хлопцям, які також не розгубилися і допомагали. 25 людей було поранено, в тому числі 11 дітей, загинуло 14 людей, серед них одна дитина. Моє співчуття усім, хто втратив рідних, близьких. СБУ розпочато кримінальне провадження за фактом цієї страшної події. Я доручив керівнику Служби безпеки у взаємодії з усіма іншими уповноваженими органами з'ясувати всі обставини катастрофи. Сьогодні були ухвалені всі необхідні рішення щодо керівництва системою МВС. Ми втратили людей, які були професіоналами, патріотами, надійними керівниками. Міністр Денис Монастирський, Євгеній Єнін і їхні колеги, які загинули в катастрофі. Це не ті люди, яких можна легко замінити. Дійсно велика втрата для держави. Мої співчуття рідним. Тимчасове керівництво міністерством буде здійснювати голова Національної поліції України. Також були розподілені обов'язки, за виконанням яких відповідав міністр в контексті нашої оборонної операції, забезпечення безпеки держави. Кордон, ситуація на прифронтовій території, участь Нацгвардії та поліції в бойових діях, контроль зберігається. Як тільки будуть встановлені чіткі факти щодо того, що саме призвело до катастрофи, ми надамо цю інформацію. Як і завжди, увесь день сьогодні на зв'язку з нашими військовими. Ситуація на фронті залишається важкою. Епіцентр найбільш жорстоких принципових боїв на Донбасі. Поступово фіксуємо збільшення кількості обстрілів і спроб наступальних дій від окупанта. Дякую всім нашим бійцям, які тримають позиції. Дякую бійцям 68-ї окремої єгерської бригади та 36-ї окремої бригади морської піхоти за дуже ефективне ураження ворога і потрібну нам стійкість саме на Донбасі. Дякую також підрозділам ГОРМО за дії, які зменшують шанси окупанта. Сьогодні оголошено, що Канада готує потужний пакет оборонної допомоги для нашої держави. Зокрема, у ньому будуть бронемашини. Це дуже вчасно і вагомо. Я дякую Канаді за незмінну допомогу і за те, що саме зараз разом готуємось до спроби Росії посилити удари. Ні для кого у світі сьогодні плани держави-терориста не залишаються невідомими. Взяв участь у форумі в Давосі. Меседж від України дуже простий і чесний. Ні у кого зараз у вільному світі немає можливості зволікати Знаю, що найближчим часом будуть нові дійсно потрібні кроки на підтримку нашої оборони. Зробимо все, щоб таких кроків було стільки, скільки необхідно для поразки терористів. Слава усім нашим воїнам, вічна пам'ять усім українцям, вічна пам'ять усім українкам, які загинули через розв'язану Росією війну. Слава Україні!
Well, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 330 of the news, and that also wraps up our nightly news summary. We're about to be moving into the question segment, meaning that the stream is only about halfway over at this point. You have reached the halfway point. Because of that, I guess you can say we're about to be going into a halftime show, once again addressing all the remainder of the polls we have tonight, and then moving on into the questions and answering all of those. All of the super chats that have been sent in, and as many live chats as we can. Before you go, however, I do highly encourage that you subscribe, because we are literally 7 subscribers away from 111,000 subscribers right now. Very, very close. And so if 7 of you would subscribe, we would make it to 111,000, which would just be kind of neat. So with that, thank you all once again for watching. I will see... Well, it's not over yet, actually. For some reason, I said that, and I immediately went into, like, Pavlov myself into the stream being over. Anyways, we're now moving on into the question segment, so take it away, Matthew.
All right, so for our final question segment, we have 2 more polls to address. The very first one says, do you think the Canadian Senator armored truck is a good deal? It looks like 76% said yes, it's cool and affordable. 16% said unsure and undecided. 5% said, I like others better. And 3% said, no, I don't like it. I've got to say, I think it's pretty cool. And, you know, when we say affordable, it's affordable in terms of other military equipment, but obviously $200,000 is not cheap. But I'd have to go with the large majority of the folks. And Enforcer, what say you?
I would also have to go with a large majority of the folks. I think it's a pretty neat car. Not that expensive either, you know, in terms of cars, relatively. But with that, I hope that does address the poll fairly well. And let's get on into the next one.
And the next poll says, the NATO chief is confident that Turkey will finalize admission for Finland and Sweden. What are your thoughts? 60% said it's finally going to happen. 13% said unsure, and 26% said no, there will be more stalling. And on this one, I've got to say that I think there's going to be some more stalling. I'm not confident it's actually going to happen this time. Turkey has been holding this up for a long time, and I really don't know of anything that's changed that would, you know, encourage them to speed up the process. But Enforcer, what say you?
I've got to be honest with you. Turkey is Turkey. We all know that. Turkey does Turkey things, and while they think that they're going to allow Finland and Sweden to join NATO now, I don't know, because that could change tomorrow. The Turks are very unpredictable, and there's really no way to know whether they will actually join or not. So I'm going to have to be honest with y'all and go, I don't know. Also, did they change the name of Turkey to its actual spelling, like in Turkish?
I guess so.
Huh, interesting. Like,
Turkey.
Turkey. Turkey. Let's see. Turkey. It was renamed? Oh, no, it's officially the Republic of Turkey. But we just spell it Turkey like the turkey here in the West in English. Really weird, though, because I've never seen it on a map before. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. But I always swore on Google Maps it'll spell turkey like the turkey animal, not the turkey as in the Republic of Turkey. Anyways, I don't really know. I'd have to agree with Matthew on that one to say it. Who knows? We really don't have an idea into tomorrow even what they'll be doing and what they'll be saying. And so with that, I hope that does address the poll fairly well. And we are on into the next one, perhaps, perchance.
And also, real quick, because I've seen a lot of people addressing it. I'm not sure if we've covered it recently, but in regards to the Russian losses that we go over every single night, those are simply Ukraine's best estimates of the losses. They are not concrete numbers. I see some folks are going berserk about that, but no, we've known for a very long time they're only estimates. But Enforcer, would you like to comment?
Yes, I think we say that every night. So if you're going ballistic, just calm down. That is a disclaimer mentioned every night. They could be low. The casualties could be hundreds higher than what's being reported right now. They could be high. They could be like the casualty report could be hundreds lower or higher than what we see. So and as far as the infantry getting killed, take that with a grain of salt. With the armor getting destroyed, I would more so take that as actual information, actual fact, because counting armored vehicles destroyed is fairly easy to do. Counting infantry, not so much. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can see anyone saying anything about it. Because let's see. Someone at Carter says stop splitting hairs. Hey, that's not us. That's our viewers doing that. Let's see. You're gonna tell us stop splitting hairs. It's like
there's some like there's a couple people discussing it like calmly, and then there's like one person earlier that was going absolutely bonkers over it. And it's like I don't even understand that. It literally says it on the page itself. It's just an estimate. They obviously can't get accurate numbers like by the precise individuals because that would be impossible.
And I've gone over this time and time again because I don't know why people are acting like this war is supposed to have exact numbers. Because let me go over here real quick to the Gulf War. And how many Iraqis did we get in this war? It's somewhere in between 20,000 to 50,000. It could be either one. It could be somewhere in the middle. We have no idea. That's the thing about war. You just never really know. We actually kept accurate accounts, though, what the United States does. We actually count every single one that's killed or missing. So we actually have an exact number for coalition killed and wounded, but hell, we don't know how many Iraqis got killed. Somewhere in between 20 to 50,000. I don't know. There's literally more of a gap in between the high and the low estimate than there is in between 0 and 20,000. That's how big the estimate is. And you got to keep that in mind. We're not going to get an exact number in this war. That's a rough estimate, and it could be higher than that. It could be lower than that. We don't know. So just keep that in mind. And I don't know why people come in here, Matthew, frothing at the mouth at that, because that's just a known fact that it's not exact. It's an estimate.
And also, by the way, Carter was referring to the viewers. He wasn't referring to you.
Oh, I was like, I thought he was referring to us. I was like, we're just responding to the live chat, man. It's like, don't sit there and crucify me. But anyways, sorry, Carter, I misunderstood that. But with that, I think we're on to the next one now. Also, I just got to say, that top picture right there, that is a good picture. There's no other way to say
that is good. It almost looks like AI art.
It kind of does, doesn't it? Also, the highway of death down there. Oh, man, that was crazy. It was the only highway pretty much leading into Kuwait, so the Iraqis had to use everything. All of their supply lines ran down that highway. We just conducted an air campaign and blew away literally their entire supply forces and a lot of their armed forces on that single highway before we even started the ground war. So really, Gulf War was a really interesting thing that occurred. Anyways, with that, I think we're on to the next. I think we're on to the questions now, if I'm correct.
Yes, we are. And the first one we have is another $200 donation from Paul Fitzgerald. Tremendous. And thank you very much, Paul. Paul says, I think Ukraine is letting the Russians to smash their heads against the wall. Then they will attack in a very specific way, and we will be marveled like we were in September, and Slava Ukraine.
And
I guess they're trying the Muhammad Ali tactic, maybe?
And Slava Ukraine. And I would have to agree. The Ukrainians are just allowing the Russians to beat themselves to death and run out of steam in the Bakhmut area, like we see right now, with them taking on heavy casualties. At some point, they are going to give up this battle. Even if they take Bakhmut, they will give up the battle immediately afterwards. And then we'll see that a Ukrainian counterattack will most likely occur. Now, I said, even if they take Bakhmut, and I'm throwing that in as a highly unlikely probability, but it is possible. If they did take Bakhmut, they would probably stop right outside of it, like they did in Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, because the forces in that area would be to a point of tactical exhaustion. They wouldn't be able to continue on anymore from that point. They'll have to rest. So they won't move on. The Ukrainians, however, can use that point, because these units are exhausted on break, to attack elsewhere and probably take a decent amount of ground. So I would agree with you definitely, Paul Fitzgerald. We are pretty much just waiting for the Russians to finally run out of steam, stop what they're doing there, and then the Ukrainians will have the ball in their court. It'll be their turn, and we'll see what they'll be able to do. The 2 times that they've ever pulled off counterattacks, they have done incredibly well. They did well in the Kharkiv area. They also did well in Kherson, so there's no reason to believe that it wouldn't do well once again once the Russians run themselves out of energy once more. So with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well, Paul Fitzgerald. You have completely blown me away with the support that you sent in tonight. I cannot believe that you sent in this much support, but I gotta thank you so much for it. It's incredibly kind of you. It helps this channel to keep on running, and it really blows me away how kind our viewers are like you, Paul. Like, it's unbelievable because y'all are, just through y'all's kindness and generosity to this channel, helping us to keep this thing running behind the scenes, y'all are the only reason we can do this. It is completely unbelievable. And so with that, thank you once again. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And also, Slava Ukraini. And with that, we are on to the next one. But if y'all can, thank Paul Fitzgerald so much for throwing in a massive amount of support that really does help this channel to keep turning and burning. So with that, on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $55 super chat from Anonymous, who says, tweeted by the Kyiv Independent, New York Times reports the White House believes Ukraine may need the military equipment to strike Russian-occupied Crimea, regardless of the risks. Can you offer your insight and thoughts on the implications if this were a true statement?
And thank you so much for the 99 support, Anonymous, in Canadian dollars. And to answer that question, the implications of that are not too serious. Also, considering that the Ukrainians have already struck into Crimea and they've shown that they've had the ability to strike all the way down to Sevastopol city itself, I think that the Pentagon is misinformed with that statement. I don't really like to say that, but it's kind of weird that we've seen them do that stuff before. They've hit Dzhankoy right here. They've hit Yevpatoria. They also hit Novofedorovka. They also hit the Saki airfield, and they also hit right outside of Sevastopol at an airfield somewhere in this area. Right here, actually. That's where the airfield is. They've struck them all with missiles. So I don't know why they're saying now that they're going to need that ability, because they already have that ability from what we know. However, I will say this, maybe they ran out of the missiles that were used to strike that far into Crimea. But the implications aren't that big because the Ukrainians have already done it. We've seen the Russian response, which is almost non-existent. So if the West gives them weapons that can strike into Russia, or the Ukrainians produce more and use them, I don't really think the implications will be that severe, considering that they've pretty much already done this for months on end before, back when the Russian Air Force was actually basing out of Crimea. They were so effective at destroying Russian aircraft in the Crimean Peninsula, the Russian Air Force doesn't even operate out of there anymore. They've moved out and pretty much into Rostov. So with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well, Anonymous. Really good one, actually. That was actually a very interesting question, one we haven't had before, and I hope that does address the question fairly well. Also, I love your name, Anonymous. That's really smart sounding. That's actually pretty cool. And so with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running, and also throwing in a nice donation. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $25 super chat from Mech Tactical, who says, I motion to vote from here on, special equipment, formerly known as Bobcats, be referred to as Dildozers. And we're going to take this one to a vote. We'll hear all the nays and the yays, and here we go.
Matthew, you just got had.
What do you mean?
I'm not going to let you know why, but you got had.
Mech Tactical, why?
Well, thank you for turning this stream from PG to R immediately. It went from PG to R-rated. But thank you for the support, Mech Tactical. I don't think we can put that up to a vote, though. But I'll just leave it at
let's
you.
Put that up to a vote.
No, I don't think we. I think we're okay. I think we're good. Also, Deborah Bob just put in like the little period dots. Oh man, Matthew, you've got to.
I vote nay.
I vote nay. I vote nay. So man.
Also, if you make a bigger deal out of it than it is, it gets to be a bigger deal. So I would move on.
Well, you've already said it, and the chat's going crazy. Oh man, Matthew, why? Anyways, thank you for the support, Mech Tactical. I know that was well intentioned, but we try and keep things Disney PG around here in a way. So with that, we're on to the next one. But thank you for the support, and also I bet you got a pretty good laugh out of getting Matthew. So with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and also Bobby Karoffa said, "You're still PG." Yes, Bobby, we are still PG. But anyways, up next we have a $20 super chat from Psyops, who says, "Hi, stream, Bob Ross here. To say if you don't write to representatives, I'll never paint another happy little tree."
Dang, that's a threat. Also, thank you for the support, Psyops. And also, I would agree with Psyops. Y'all need to contact your representatives. And I'm going to go through a little spiel here for all of our American viewers. The United States is vast and wide, and in it, it has 435 representatives in the House of Representatives and 100 senators, 2 for each state. There's a lot of elected representatives out there in Congress alone, and also the president. Don't worry about the president, though, because he's, I'm sure, bombarded with mail every day. Focus on your local representatives, the ones that represent you in the House, maybe the Senate. Write them letters. A lot of them have offices in this small building in Washington. I say it's small, it's actually really big. Right over here in the Cannon House office building. If you send a letter to this area... Oh, wait a minute, actually, it shows the offices of these people? I feel like it's kind of weird. Anyways.
That guy had a really bad rating.
This which one? Right here?
The guy on the top of the building over there, like the first one, Josh something.
What is this rating? Like what does it say? Oh, okay. I can't even read. It's just like, oh, okay. But anyways, a lot of them have offices in the Cannon building. Just write your letters to the offices in the Cannon building, whether it be a representative or a senator. I think the senators' offices are both in the I think the senator's offices are just kind of mixed in the Cannon House and also in the Rayburn building, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So just send a letter to either one of those buildings, depending on where your representative is, regardless of what you think they are, whether they're pro-Ukrainian or anti-Ukrainian. Just let them know, hey, I think the support to Ukraine should continue, and if you do not continue that, I'm not going to vote for you. And that's how this whole democracy thing works. You just kind of threaten them with their jobs, and hopefully they do what you want. If they don't, then just don't vote for them. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. I agree with Psyops heavily that contacting your elected representatives to let them know that the support should flow is the best thing to do. And I know that a lot of people always say this, your vote doesn't count. And amongst tens of millions of people, yeah, it kind of doesn't, because, it just gets absorbed amongst the sea of them. But calling up your representative or senator is something that not a lot of people do, and it's kind of a little dumb, because you would think that you would just kind of call them and let them know what their constituents are thinking, but a lot of people don't ever go that far. But if you do it, I promise you, they will listen to you. So make sure to write your officials, but don't sit there and be like, you're an idiot, you're stupid, because a lot of people do that, and we just ban them off the stream. If you do that to a representative or a senator, their aides are going to ensure that they never see that letter. So always make sure to write it really polite. Make sure that it just says something like, hello, I am from your district, I voted for you. Don't worry if you didn't vote for him, just tell him you voted for him. I voted for you, and I believe that supporting Ukraine is really important. I see that you are supporting Ukraine, or you're not, which is good or bad, depending on which one it is, and I want the support to continue. If you do not help out Ukraine, I'm not voting for you. I want you to help out Ukraine, if you are right now, and I will keep voting for you. Make sure to write it something like that. Not really like a threat or anything. Don't write it like a threat, because a lot of people always act like that's just the way to go. Just make sure to imply it. Just be like, I voted for you before, and I'd be very disappointed if you didn't support Ukraine, because it's a major issue to me. That kind of gets the point across. Anyways, make sure to write to them. Become pen pals with them. And so with that, we're going to be moving on into the next question. But thank you so much once again for the support, Psyops, and also bringing that up, because that's a pretty big deal. Also, speaking of which, something really cool to know about the U.S. Capitol building, because we've actually taken a tour of this building before. I'm going to try and find it for y'all. The building actually used to be a lot smaller. It's been built onto over the centuries pretty much, to how it is now. And I'm trying to find you some of the older parts of the Capitol building that were around during the 1800s. This is a very small part. I think it was just this part over here. Oh yeah, the Supreme Court used to be in the Capitol building before they got their own building.
I did know that.
Yeah, Matthew didn't know that. He did. As a fun fact, he did. Let's see, I'm trying to find one of the cool pictures. Dang it, I can't find it. Look, it's an empty room. Sweet. In a hand.
With a hand.
With a hand. A flying hand. It's the Haunted Mansion. Let's see here. Dagnabbit, I can't find it. They took a picture of everything. Here's one of the older parts. I believe this is one of the older parts of the Capitol. I gotta say, honestly, the interior design of the Capitol building is actually pretty classy. I like it.
Yeah, I think you can't deny that.
Yeah, you can't deny that. Matthew's just in there. Yep, yeah, you can't deny that, can you? He's turning into John Wayne over there. Wait a minute. Oh my god, it's the little tram thing that takes the people across the street. Oh, that is cool.
You didn't know about that?
Yeah, I did know about it. I never saw a picture of it, though. I didn't know it looked like a postal mail carrier thing. Okay, everyone, hop in the cart that was used for the mail for the USPS in New York. We're going this place. That's cool. That's really cool. Let's see here. There's a lot of history about the American Capitol building, like its architecture, design, and its evolution that is really, really cool. But I don't think we can go through it on this stream because it's just going to be so in-depth, and finding pictures for it seems to be a hassle. Yeah, we're just going to move on. But it's a really nice-looking building. Anyways, we're going to be moving on. But make sure to write you representatives. With that, we're on to the next one. Thank you once again for the support, Psyops.
All right. And up next, we have another one from Psyops. This one is another $20 donation. And he says this time, hi stream, Mr. Rogers here. Did you know only good neighbors write their representatives? If you don't write them, I'll have to cut trolley brakes.
Oh my god. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I cut the hydraulics in the trolley brakes, just going down the street, killing everything. You need to write your representatives and your senators. Wait, that would have worked if I did that. Yeah. Hello, neighbor. I was wanting to talk to you today about writing your representatives. It is very important that you write your representatives and make sure that they know where you stand. Of course, many people are always afraid about writing their representatives, and it's a fairly good thing to be scared about. These are important people. You know, talk just like Mr. Rogers. Right. But anyways, Mandy went, yeah, right. Yeah, it's questionable if representatives are important people. I don't know, man, because there's so many of them. There's 435 of them. It's like, that's like a pretty sizable business if those were just employees, you know?
Yeah, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and also a lot of people apparently thought that was a good Mr. Rogers, apparently. But anyways, with that, please make sure to write your electric representatives. That's all that Psyops is getting to. And so with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you once again for the support. And just in case, because I saw JD Mako, while I was fumbling a quarter here, say, whoa, not cool. Hey, man, like, Mr. Rogers is pretty cool. And I'm just doing it because. So with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support, Psyops.
All right, and thank you very much, Psyops, for that. And up next, we have a $20 donation from James Bankhead, who does not leave a comment. I don't think he left one last night either, so sadly, nothing to address still. But James, thank you very much for the support. And Enforcer, what say you?
I say what? What say you? I say thank you so much for the support, because it does help us out a massive deal, and without it, it wouldn't be possible to keep this thing going. And so, thank you so much once again for keeping this channel running, helping us to keep this thing rolling, and you didn't even throw in a comment, so the support is just to keep us alive. And so thank you so much once again. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are going on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
And the next one is from Jose Ruano, who puts in a $20 donation. And I think Jose might have left for the night, sadly. But Jose says, do you think the dead minister... Wait a minute, excuse me. Do you think the dead of the Minister of the Interior, I think he meant to say the death, will affect Ukraine greatly or not at all?
It won't affect Ukraine all too much. Sounds a little morbid, actually. But I'm sure there's been a continuation process already set in place where someone's already replaced his position, and activities are continuing as normal. It'll take a little while for the new guy to get up to speed on the position and what's been going on there, but beyond that, things will continue to run. It's just unfortunate to know that someone who's held such a prominent position in the Ukrainian government, and many other ministers as well, have unfortunately been killed in this helicopter crash. But beyond that, the government of Ukraine should continue to function without much of a problem. It should be a fairly easy switch to the new person. So with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well. Thank you so much for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $20 super chat from Wes A., who says, the Apache belongs the U.S. Army from the 12th Combat Aviation Brigade out of Katterbach, Germany. That's a very astute observation. Wes says, as of right now, they aren't deployed. The patch on the helmet was more than likely staged. Too bad. And Wes is exactly right, it sounds like.
And you were exactly correct, Wes. You actually beat everyone to the cake, but because it was a super chat, it wasn't read off until now, and I'm sorry about that. But yes, you are correct. We did find out that that is in, let's see, what is it? Katterbach? Ketterbo?
Yes.
Ketterbo.
Ketterbach.
I actually saw someone earlier say it's Ketterbo, you know, because everyone's a grammar Nazi except for us.
Ketterball.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any way you can pronounce that. Ketterball. It's Ketterbach. Or, not Bach, but Bach.
Well, we'll forget about the pronunciation. It's inconsequential, but we did all that just for me to throw it all into the trash bin. But anyways, that is something we did find out earlier, and I thank you so much for the support, Wes, and also clarifying that for us because it was there. We don't know if that was a volunteer in training or something similar, but hopefully it is. We can only hope. But beyond that, not really a lot to get out of it, actually. So with that, we're going to be moving on to the next one, and thank you so much once again for the support. And I just saw a castle. What does this look like? Wow. It's a castle. Look, there's some porcelain lady sitting here with a giant bow in her hat. Why does she look like the...
That was a real person for a minute.
Why does she look like the female version of the yellow man from Curious George? You know, the yellow banana man suit thing or whatever?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, kind of. Neat castle, though.
Also, did you hear from Starsky yet?
The stars grow? Let me see. Nah, I'm sure he's okay, though. But, so, moving on from that, getting back to this castle, holy moly. That thing is red. That's a red car.
That's a fire truck.
Hell no, man. This thing is a chauffeured car because they got the little cab on the back and the chauffeur just gets rained on. That is a chauffeured car for sure. Oh, look, there's the yellow banana suit woman again. And weird, they're not getting any interior pictures of the castle, though. It's like the inside, they don't want you to see the inside. And there's that red car again.
Sure is.
Oh, okay, that's a good one. That's a nice car.
Oh, I like that one.
That is really nice. I don't even know what model car that is, but that is a super good looking one. They keep on showing that stupid yellow dress woman. Then look, there's some guy here. He's trying to get with the yellow dress woman. He's about to have a huge plot twist in his life when he finds out she's concrete. But no pictures of the inside of this castle. Really lame. I'm kind of bummed out by this. And I feel like I'm owed a refund. Let's look at the reviews of this. Wow, 4.6 stars? Who wrote a 1-star review on this thing? How do we categorize them? Again, Matthew, sort lowest rating.
There you go.
We were at the pottery market in Sommersdorf and had to pay €2. Further back in the castle, there was another flea market where €1 was required. If we'd known that, we would not gone there. The market was also quite small. We waren auf Toppermark in Sommersdorf am Musten, in Basalen, I know I'm butchering y'all's language, I'm sorry. Anyways, I was disappointed. Oh, that's it. Those are all the low reviews. But anyways, we're going to move on from the castle. But really cool, it has a whole moat and everything. Here in the south, that would just be filled with mosquitoes. I don't know if it is in Germany, but this thing would be like mosquito breeding heaven right here. The mosquitoes would be going, it's paradise, it's the chosen land, quick, put the eggs in there. But anyways, with that, we're going to be moving on to the next one.
Also, I see, looks like the Moped Universe is saying, enforcers, give me your P.O. box address. And very, very exuberantly asking for it, by the way.
Yes. I'm going to type that into the chat real quick because I forgot to do that today. It's been a busy day, I promise y'all. So let me put this in. P.O. Box 383007. And we're only going to put it up for a split second. If you want to copy and paste it, Matthew, and put it into the bot, so that way you can send out this message every once in a while. I'll also put it in the server and everywhere else. So let me put this into the chat, and you should be able to copy and paste it from there. So here's our P.O. box right there. So if you have any mail to our FSB agents, any anthrax spores, if y'all have any fan mail y'all like to send, you can send it to that P.O. box. The address is correct because I have it written down on the slip of paper right here. So just send any fan mail that way, and we'll probably get it. Well, we will get it.
Ferguson is very, very viciously writing this down, scribbling it right now.
Oh, yeah.
What is it, P.O. Box?
He's in there, P.O. Box precaution order. Oh, they're bullying me again. Hey, we're not bullying you, man. We're just saying what you are was the rat piece of shit, man. Anyways, with that, we're on to the next.
All right, so our next one here is a $20 super chat from Panama Floyd, who says, there ain't no Satan either. If I don't Gas about Batman. Why would I care about the Joker? Those young troops don't believe any of that stuff anymore. Well, they don't believe that Batman's real?
Jingle bells, Batman smells a robin, laid an egg. Oh, wow, I actually choked on
The
spit
hell?
right there, believe it or not. Anyways, thank you for the support.
Damn, son, where'd you find
Damn, son, where'd you find this? And I'm just holding my lung, you know, like one of them. But anyways, I got to thank you so much for the support. Unfortunately, I don't really know what that means. But I do thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running, because it does mean a lot to us that people do send in support, so we can keep the wheels churning and burning behind the scenes. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
And the next one we have is from Uncle Tabobite, who puts in a $20 donation and says, for coffee and tea, and also bag the bad guys.
Dang. Man, we're going to be sitting there sipping on a Starbucks Frappuccino, putting the guy down on the ground. Get down on the ground! Like slurping out of the straw at the same time. I got to thank you for the support, though. And I don't think we can bag the bad guys, but I know some guys who can. And now it's time for me, Matthew, to go the Russian way, ultra cringe. Let's just say, actually, I know a guy who knows a guy. Let's just say, yeah, he's really cool. But anyways, we're on to the next one. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll make sure that someone bags the bad guys out there somewhere. And also, we're gonna see. I'll let y'all know about this part because it's a thing happening in the future. We're going to see about making a proper Lee Spring Army flag, like an actual one y'all can get. But we'll have to figure out all the details on that. And it's not definitive right now. We don't even have an actual design yet, but we are getting that all hammered out in the process of being done. So with that, we are on to the next one. And also, I'm going to take the P.O. Box address, and I'm going to just put it in the chat again. I'm just going to copy that and paste that for the rest of the night. So we're on to the next one.
And the next one we have is from Psyops. He puts in another $20 donation and says, on top of old Bakhmut covered in crud, Ukraine made those orcs pay with a 44 slug. They didn't bury the bodies. They didn't mark their graves. But when Ukraine comes back, they will dearly pay. He says, set to on top of Old Smoky. So it's supposed to be a song.
It's supposed to be a song. Sadly, we don't know the lyrics to that song or the melody of it.
Well, he gave you the lyrics.
I know, but we don't know we don't know the freaking lyrics, Matthew. What the hell are we supposed to do? We don't know the damn melody. Shit. But I do thank you for the support, and it does sound like it would be a pretty nice song. But sadly, I just don't know the melody to put the lyrics to music. But I will say this. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support. But sadly, I don't know if we can do that.
All right. So sadly, Psyops, he can't sing. But anyways, up next, we have a $20 donation from More Model, who does not leave a comment. But thank you very much, More, for the support. And we appreciate that very, very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to thank you so much for the support, because I tell you what, without your support, this wouldn't be possible. And so I got to thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, this wouldn't be possible. You hear me? Yay! And so with that, thank you once again. I'm gonna start spinning the dip in the Mountain Dew cup like everyone used to do. But with that, thank you once again. I hope that does rest comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And also, I saw someone say any Boomhauer impressions. I'm sorry, but I'm lost on that one. Like, I know who Boomhauer is. I don't think I could do it, though. Anyways, we are on to the next one.
All right. And the next one goes to White Lightning 777, who puts in a $10 donation and says, the most reasonable hypothesis for the Apache is that a wealthy private individual donated one from their collection, their military surplus. They aren't restricted, and hopefully spare parts are included.
And I thank you for the support, but we actually located that thing to a specific airfield in Germany. So unfortunately, that's not the case. That is an optimistic one, though, and I wish it was the case. But it appears that it's just in Germany, and the patch somehow made its way there, and an American pilot's taking pictures with it, or a Ukrainian is there taking pictures with it and being trained. We're not really sure which it is at the point, but it is in Germany. It was not in Ukraine. And so with that, I hope that does address the question or the statement fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right, and moving right along, while the address for the P.O. Box goes back up again, it looks like we have a $10 super chat from Raphael Schneeves, who says, a gas turbine engine generally needs less maintenance and is easier to maintain than a multi-fuel engine like the Leopard 2. Mary Queen of Peace, pray for Ukraine and Russia.
And I thank you for the support. Very interesting point to bring up. It is a little bit easier to maintain the engine on a Leopard 2. However, it's very difficult to maintain the diplomatic relationship with the Germans to have them sending that thing continuously. That is not the problem with the United States. The problem there is actually maintaining an Abrams. But with the Americans' unlimited budget, I'm sure that it wouldn't be that much of an issue, especially considering that there's U.S. forces in Poland right now that could probably take care of that Abrams. So with that, I thank you so much for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again.
And the next one we have is from Sarah Ratcliffe, Ratcliffe, who puts in a $10 donation and says, let's see here. Do you think pig roasting and his Wagler Trotters will have to disband after this war due to them losing so many members?
Oh, pig roasting is supposed to be Prigozhin. That's actually a really smart one. Kind of abstract, though, but really cool, really smart. I would say maybe. Of course, he can always bolster the numbers with prisoners. We've seen that he's been constantly doing that right now. So it may not be disbanded. It's just that it is a literal meat, like a cannon fodder, just meat grinder unit that just gets sent into the worst areas with no training and they get obliterated. That may be what the Wagner unit turns into, because it actually used to be somewhat refined, at least by Russian standards, until it went up against the Americans in Syria, and then we leveled them there. So, you know, don't really fear them much. They were never one to be feared with anyways, and they may be disbanded after war. That may be a pretty good point. What? Bashar al-Assad, is that lake named after Bashar?
Could be.
It's got reviews. That's named
My favorite kind of lake. Is there any other type? Wait, is that a lake?
Yeah, it's a lake. It's a lake with, I think, a dam at the bottom of it. Yeah, right here. See, it's just got a small little hydroelectric dam right here, and then the rest of it's just filled in with dirt. It's also on the Euphrates River, you know, the ancient river where the first civilizations appeared, the Tigris and Euphrates, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was a river, but apparently it's a lake.
Yeah, it's a lake. Why did you call it Mule Lake? I mean, the lion. Was the lion the one who dug it and then filled it with water? Or everything is sure to become for a side? Soon you'll hear in Homs al-Assad, Del Israel al-Assad, Aleppo al-Assad, etc. This was actually written in Arabic, so I'm sure that he doesn't have that accent. Anyways, let's see. It was formed one of the largest Arab projects, the Euphrates Dam. This is the largest dam? Have they seen the Hoover Dam? Or any other dam in Alabama, for that matter? This is called child's play over here. This is not big. Anyways. Curse the soul of Assad and long live for free Syria. We know the SDF guys. 80 villages were flooded by Hafez al-Assad with the waters of this lake, and they were displaced. And they settled in shanty towns except for a part of them. Wow, dude, look at how long that is in English, and look how many lines that took up in its original Arabic script. That was incredibly short.
That's crazy.
Also, did they write from left to right in Arabic? Because it almost looks like they do with where the 80 is. Because I always thought they wrote from right to left.
I thought you knew a little bit about writing Arabic.
Yeah, I thought they always wrote from right to left, but this looks like it's from left to right. Like, I'm like, what? Like, I always thought they did the left to right. Anyways... Jack said, Enforcer, you were size shaming. Listen, okay? Size doesn't always matter, but when you're talking about dams, it does. Like, you can't say this is a big project and then this is all you really have of a proper dam. I'll show you a real dam.
Damn, son.
Damn, son. I'll go to Alabama, because there's a million of them. So, I move up the river. Jordan Lake. Look at this dam. It's way bigger. It's a real proper dam. Way bigger than the one that's out the Euphrates River. And I don't hear Alabama getting any credit. And then if we move on up, all the way up here, I think there's a massive dam somewhere down the river here. Let me find it. I think it's up here, maybe. Wheeler? Yeah, here it is. This thing, it's like a mile wide, and you don't hear anyone going, "Wow, that's a big dam." Oh, thank you so much, Spencer. We'll get to that in a second. Also, they got this big old hotel over here right by the dam, so I guess you could see a view of it or something in the middle of Muscle Shoals. Well, actually, Florence. Muscle Shoals is on the other side. Really, really weird. Still, that dam's not big compared to the ones in Alabama. It's not even close. And Heather Fitzgerald said he don't give a damn, and I don't. And so with that, damn, son, we're saying that way too much. Anyways, with that. Thank you so much for the support. I don't even know how in the world we got into talking about dams, but I hope we did address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you once again for the support.
All right, and next up, of course, we have to address that very generous $100 super chat from Spencer, who says, "Evening, gents, keep it going and answer a question from the chat."
And thank you so much for the support, Spencer. And we will keep calm and keep her rolling. And we'll also make sure to address a question from the chat. And thank you so much for the massive support. It really blows me away. I mean, I don't know if it blows you away too, Matthew. I think it blows both of us away.
Yes, it does. It blows me away.
Yeah, the support we get from viewers like you, Spencer, it's unbelievable. And
very generous.
It really does blow us away. Like when I go, holy moly, like I'm being serious. I'm like, no way. And I got to thank you so much because we honestly are completely humbled by all the support we get. It's unbelievable to know that so many people want us to keep this thing running and help us out with that a whole load. And so with that, we are going to get to that live chat for you, Spencer. And thank you once again.
And the live chat question goes to BM, who says, what would Enforcer do if he was the U.S. president right now with Ukraine?
Look, if I was the president of the United States, I would. What happened?
What, you're gonna be senile?
Repeat. Reread the line. One more time. One hop this time. Two hops this time. One step back now. One hop this time. Reread the line. Anyways, moving on from there.
Oh, yeah, it actually goes hard with the HIMARS song.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, anyways, if I was the president and I was living on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, because that address is way overdone, I would do the following. First, we would start to see about sending F-16s over immediately. That would be a priority. That would be the priority right now. And we're going to keep this in mind. We're going to say that I was the vice president and the current sitting president just croaked overnight. And now I've been sworn in as the president of the United States. So everything that has happened in the past has happened right now. I'm not going to go and rewrite that. So I'm coming in as of the situation today, right now. So the first thing we would do is we would try and get the F-16s over to Ukraine. The second thing we would do is we would have, I guess you could say, advisors or at least surveyors from the Department of Defense travel over to Ukraine and figure out what needs to be done. If the Army Corps of Engineers needs to go over there, at least some of their advisors or I guess you could say inspectors, they would go over there as well. So first, the priority would be is to look over the logistical restraints that the Ukrainians have at this moment that would make it impossible for an Abrams to be sent there and address those situations before the Abrams get sent. The first thing I do an impersonation, Matthew, without including a counter, and then, lots of politics tonight. No, it's just an impersonation.
Probably talking about me saying C now, but anyways.
But anyways, so we look at the infrastructure deficiencies and we figure them out. Then we figure out how much it will cost to improve the infrastructure as of right now. Even if we have to bring in Western contractors, that can be done. We can just bring them in from Poland, give them some kind of protection, or the Ukrainians can try and give them some kind of protection. And then we can start building either improved road networks for Ukraine, if that's the determined easiest solution. However, the railroads will most likely be the ones that would require the most upgrade and function, because of course that's the most efficient way to transport a large amount of cargo and equipment is by rail. So improve the railroad infrastructure, figure out how much that costs, and have that sent over in an aid package. But all of the financial support in that aid package would have to go into directly upgrading railroad infrastructure only. Once the railroad infrastructure is upgraded, then send an send a supply package or an aid package that would have the Abrams in it. enough that the Ukrainians could support them, and not too much to overrun their supply abilities, and also set up some American forces and deploy them in Poland, in the area of Lubin and Rezhel, so they're right on the other side of the border, so that way when the tanks get transported back out of Ukraine, the, I guess you say repair facilities are right there on the border, so there's not much further they have to travel. They're immediately maintained, repaired, and then they're on their way back out again. So I think that was most likely what my administration would focus on right now in terms of Ukraine, is getting the F-16s over there, which really is just a matter of how far can we push the Russians before they go bat. So we'll have to figure that out. That's really the only concern there. And then with the tanks, we'll just have to figure out supply-wise, logistically, how to get them into Ukraine and out of Ukraine, so that way we can maintain them, because the Ukrainians getting that ability will probably be highly unlikely in this course of the war. So with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well. Really good question, actually. Really good live chat question. And I hope that y'all were happy with that answer, and that y'all vote for me in 2040, because this is just a one-off instance, and if y'all like how I'm going to handle this situation, imagine the way I'm going to be dealing with the situations we got in 17 years' time. It's going to be something. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But I hope I answered that live chat fairly well, and thank you so much, Spencer, for getting us a live chat question to answer. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right. And the next one goes to Rocco World Domination, who puts in a $7 donation and says the Russians will never take Bakhmut, much less Handelmut or Vivaldimut.
And I thank you for the support. I don't think I've ever heard of Vivaldi Mut or Handelmut. Let me pull this up. I don't know if we're getting had there, but we'll find out. Handelmut.
I'm getting so tired of being worried about being had.
I don't even know those physically exist, but I do thank you for the support, Rocco World Domination. And I'm pretty
What's
sure
it mean?
I'm pretty sure that they will not take Bakhmut. And so with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And we're on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
Oh, somebody say composers. It's music.
Oh, I thought I had heard about Vivaldi.
Oh, Bakhmut.
Oh, you cheesy. Oh, that's cheesy. Oh, that's why we couldn't pull them up. They're all composers. I'm sorry. We're so apt up on getting had now that we don't even look at what the joke really is. We're looking at if we got had or not. So sorry about that, Rocco World Domination. I thought you had us, you had had us. But with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And I don't think they'll be taking any of those because they're largely abstract. But with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
And that was a pretty good one, I gotta say.
That was a really good one, actually. That got me good.
And also, if we get had, we're just going to roll with it from now on, because we're getting so caught up in getting had, we're missing the jokes. You're going right over our head. But anyways, up next we have a $5 super chat from Margaret Hemsley, who says, "Put it towards new feet and Slava LSA."
And thank you so much, Margaret, for restoring the foot fun. I have got to get new feet. I've eaten through about 10 pairs of my feet running this show, and I've got to tell you, not only is it greatly painful, but it's also very difficult to find new feet, especially ones that are size 13s. And you know what they say about big feet, big socks. I was just thinking, Matthew, there's probably a weirdo out there that's into feet, and we're talking about, anyways.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it happens, I guess. It just happens. The whole thing of being a YouTuber, so it all ends up being about the feet. Anyways, with that, thank you so much for the support, Margaret, and supporting the foot fun, because I'm going to make sure to get myself some new pairs of feet, so that way when I eat through these, I can get the new ones. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support, and I hope we addressed that comment. Well, they have to comment fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Next we have a $5 super chat from Paul Smallzer, who says, as a former 19R, it is very easy to transport an Apache. Their rotor blades were made to fold for transport by a C-17.
And thank you so much for the support. And also, really cool to hear that you were in 19 Romeo. Let's pull up that MOS, because I've got to be honest with you, while I said it's really cool, I don't know what that is. So let's pull up 19 Romeo. So
sounds like a runway, like 19, right?
So is 19R?
Yes. Oh, have we been had again?
I'm
joking, by the way. It's probably like a real MOS.
Let's see here. 19R, 19R, 19R. We're going through the 15s. We're going through the 18s.
Maybe it was like a while back or something.
I can't find anything under the 19s. Maybe that MOS was changed, because I can't find anything that would have to do with the logistics of transporting anything with helicopters here. It looks like all of this is relating to armor under the 19 category. But I
think it might be armor transport or motor transport.
Maybe, but all of the 19s are cavalry scouts, armor crewmen, and armor senior sergeants. So it doesn't appear that any of that has to do with logistics. So with that, I thank you for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And it, hopefully it is easy to transport them. So with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right. And the next one goes to Marcus Burtonshaw, who puts in a $5 donation. Excuse me. Hold on.
Repeat the line.
Yes, repeat the line. Marcus puts in that 5 and says, that emblem is the 12th Aviation Brigade out of Germany. And that is also another astute observation.
And that is correct. And I would have to say, I thank you so much for the support. Thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, we are on to the next one. But I have to thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And I like you just the way you are. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
Fortune's losing it.
But thank you once again for the support.
All right. So up next, we have a $5 super chat from CA Lags, who says Russia needs a quick victory to boost morale. Conquering Belarus is just the thing.
And thank you for the conquering Belarus.
Yeah, would that boost it a little wee bit?
What the hell? You're talking about taking... Wait, the Ukrainians invading Belarus and taking it.
No, they're saying Russia needs a quick victory. They should conquer Belarus. That's all they need to have a little boost in morale.
I was completely thrown off by the whole invade Belarus thing. I literally forgot the whole question. I was like, what? But maybe. Maybe. I don't think it'd end well for them, but I'm all for them doing it. And so with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And I thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one. Also, Kolchak, you were right. I'm getting no sleep these days. I go to bed at like 2 or 3, wake up at 8, or 7, depending. And then I go into college all day. And then I come home, work on college all day, or work on other stuff in the background, which Matthew and me worked on today. And then I go to work on this. So I have like no free time right now at all. Like literally none. But I'm having a fun time. It's just that it gets exhausting, you know, and there's like no end to it. You just go to sleep and then wake up and keep on going at it. Like there's no minute to like just sit there and think about anything. There's just so much going on. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And we're on to the next one. And thank you once again for the suggestion of Russia invading Belarus.
All right. And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Joseph M. Sika. He says he just wanted to say hi. And hi, Joseph.
Hi, Joseph.
What does that say in the middle right there?
I don't know. Let's skip on that one.
He says it's a World of Warcraft thing, and take a question from the live chat, and he said something there in the middle.
I don't know what that means though. I don't want to read it all because I don't know if we're getting had or what.
Oh.
I'm so scared. I'm so
Could be
scared.
had.
But I thank you so much for the support, Joseph. And I hope that addresses the comment fairly well. World of Warcraft thing, hey, that's okay. Everyone's got a game they play. I've never played World of Warcraft, but I've heard a lot of people who do play it, and it seems like a lot of, pretty much everyone who plays it, they enjoy it. And so with that, let's get to that live chat question. And thank you once again, Joseph, for coming back around. And I know you're probably about to ask something about the smalls. Like, you're going to be like, where are the smalls? So because that's like what you're always asking. But let's get the live chat.
And the live chat goes to Jeff Veeder, who says, have the AFU sent troops to Crimea via drops from helicopters today?
Wait, read that one again?
Have the AFU sent troops to Crimea via drops from helicopters today?
Not that I've heard of. That would be completely new to me. What was that? Repeat the line. But anyways, I hope that answers the question fairly well, because I haven't heard anything about that in any direction. So with that, we were on to the next one, and thank you so much once again for the question, and also thank you, Joseph, for sponsoring that live chat. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one we have is from Raj Kapoor, who puts in a $5 donation and says, what new equipment do you think we'll see at the end of the Ramstein meeting tomorrow?
Ooh, I couldn't even tell you. I really have no idea. The Ramstein meeting could incur anything being sent. We don't really know. So I'm going to have to be completely honest with you here. I'm going to have to clear ignorance on that. And I usually try and do that as little as possible now, usually because we have enough information and logic now, due to how this war has turned out, to say things definitively. But I got to be honest with you, it's really anyone's guess. So with that, I hope that does answer the question at least a little, or give a lack of an answer. And maybe we'll see here soon what it does actually entail that may be new. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support. And I hope that does address the question fairly well, Raj.
All right. And up next, we have a $10 super chat from Michael Cabrera, who says, "Damn, guys. A lot of talk about damn dams."
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
You're putting too much emphasis on the like the country part of the accent, I think.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Does that sound better?
Sounds a little bit better, but you have to like put your heart and soul into it. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Oh, I don't know, man. I give up. Man. I do like a million voices. I'll just give up and lose on that one, man. I don't have to get that one down. I don't think people are gonna bully me. Oh man, you know what? You know, y'all are gonna get it real good today. I'm feeling a cussing coming on. Anyways, moving on from that, I gotta thank you so much for the support, Michael. And yes, we do talk about a lot about dams. Dams are really interesting because they're a one-time investment, and everyone's always talking about hydropower. You know how hydropower is great and all. But interestingly enough, Matthew, fun fact, you know that pretty much all the hydropower that could ever be harnessed in the world is already being used?
Really?
Yeah, we built so many dams, especially in Alabama. Alabama gets more electricity from hydropower than I think any other state in the country.
Oh, that's so is Alabama actually like a pretty clean power producing state?
Kind of. I mean, like we'll go pull up the power grid. Alabama, power grid, production. Let's see here. How's the majority
the
of
first option we see up there is the power plant, the nuclear one.
Yeah, natural gas is the largest, and let's see here. Alabama is the nation's 4th largest producer of electricity from nuclear power. You know, for everyone to always joke about how backwards Alabama is, we have like some of the most advanced forms of energy production in the country, and we're like in the top 5. You know, it's really weird. Coal historically fueled the largest share of electric power, like everywhere. But aging coal-fired generating power plants have shut down. No way. I couldn't believe it. Let's see. Alabama is the 6th largest U.S. hydroelectric power producer and the 3rd largest east of the Rocky Mountains, after New York and Tennessee. 23 hydroelectric dams on Alabama's rivers provide almost 9% of the state's net generation in 2021. Not a lot, but you got to remember that that's the 3rd largest east of the Rocky Mountains. Pretty wild when you think about it. That's
it's
way
wild.
up there. And let's see here. Coal, petroleum, all that. But anyways, Alabama's energy production is somewhat clean. Let's see here. Like the 2 nuclear power plants, the Farley and the Browns Ferry, they produce 32% of the electricity on our grid, a whole third of the electrical output. Natural gas accounts for 38%.
No, that's kind of a wild fact. I didn't know the nuclear plants accounted for that much.
Yeah, and just think about that. There are only 5 nuclear reactors in the state of Alabama, 2 at the Farley plant, 3 at the Browns Ferry, and they in total produce, just from those 5 reactors alone, 32% of the grid's energy. That is insane.
That is crazy, I gotta say.
Yeah, this is to say the least. But with that,
understatement.
But with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well. Electricity is a really interesting thing to get into, how the companies work, how they make profits, where it comes from, how it works. Electricity is really neat. That's all I have to say. I'm kind of a big fan of stuff because, you know, y'all wouldn't be watching the show if it wasn't for electricity. So with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you once again for the support.
All right, and up next we have a $5 super chat from Philip Fixes, who says, let's see, Phillips, what the hell? Philip, what the hell does this mean? I'm like not sure if I can read that off or not. I'm not sure if this is going to cause a row or not. I'm a little leery to read that off.
Real quick, and I'll read it.
And Forrest's about to say, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah, I'm about to go hit that high pitch like I'm shifting into 5th gear.
What does this mean? I'm not sure like exactly how to take it. That's why I'm not sure if I can read it.
I think I know the show he's talking about, but I don't really know how to work off of this. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta thank you for the support though. Like, the support does help this channel to keep on running. I don't know if we can read that though, because due to my ignorance of what that is, I don't want to read that off just due to a lack of information, because I think we did something like that last night, and I actually found out that what I thought a word meant was not what that word meant. Not that it was a bad thing or anything. It actually just ended up being a different meaning for it. But I still don't want to. I still don't want to go down that rabbit hole. If I don't know a word, I'm just going to be safe and not use it. So with that, thank you for the
Also,
support.
just a hint, it has to do with it mentions race in there, so that's what we're getting held up on.
Yeah, you know. Anyways. With
Philip
that.
Fixit says it's a literal show. Yes, but that doesn't matter. It could still be taken the wrong way.
Yeah. True. I'm sorry, Philip, but I hope you do understand. We want to err on the side of safety because, you know, YouTube could, like, chop out our knees, and I don't want my kneecaps gone. I like my knees. So with that, thank you for the support, Philip. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Marcus Burtonshaw, who puts in a $5 donation and says it's reported that the USA is likely to tie the sale of some F-16s to Turkey with NATO accession for Finland and Sweden.
Interesting, very interesting. And I thank you for the support and sharing that with us. And I've got to say, pretty wild. Not really a lot for me to add. That's just interesting to hear. And so with that, thank you for sharing the information. And with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you once again for the support. By the way, I see a lot of people saying, subscribe to get us up to 111,000. I'm looking at our subscriber number right now. It's 110,999. Like, it's just one away. If you hit that subscribe button, you could be the next guy. You know, you could be the next one. Let me refresh this real quick. Maybe it just bumped up to 111. No, it's still at 110,999. Oh, well. Well, with that, we're on to the next one. It looks like we're not going to pass 111,000 tonight.
Oh, man. Let's see here. Okay, so up next we have a $7 super chat from Justin the Beaver, who says, yay to Canadian homies sending the good stuff. Let's see here. Now that second part, is that political? I can't tell.
Let's see. Oh, it's an ex-senator. I'll say, I don't know. We always want to err on the side of caution here, and I'll be honest with you, without mentioning the name of the senator, I have not heard a lot about what he says, because one thing I hope y'all understand, I'm so busy, I hardly get time to watch anything YouTube related at all. Like, I just come on here, I do my shtick, do my thing, cover the news, and then I'm off to work the rest of the day doing college stuff, doing this, everything else. So unfortunately, I have not heard about the specific person. Do you think he has any kind of influence? Probably not, because I've never even heard about the guy or what he says. So he doesn't have any influence on me. And so with that, I hope that addresses the... What? What?
He said, you don't have any influence on me. Well, anyways, moving on.
Oh, we finally reached 111,000. Someone just subscribed.
Hey.
Nice. Hey. But he doesn't have any influence on me. Yeah, that's right. I mean, he doesn't. I don't know who the hell the guy is. But with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And you got to remember that these pro-Russian people are kind of a small minority. Or some very sad people looking for something to connect to that makes them feel like a strong person, and so then they just gravitate to it. Or, you know, they're just really anti-American, and then they camouflage it by thinking that they're being really pro-American by supporting a country that doesn't really care about them, because they would rather screw over their own countrymen than, you know, than anything else. I don't know. But with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support, Justin of the Beaver. And with that, we are on to the next one. And everyone, we've reached 111K. Now
Gogosian was our 111th subscriber, 1,000 subscriber.
Dude, he's literally going to put a hit out on us now. He's going to be like, I'm putting 1,000,000 rubles, which is like $5, on killing the enforcer. And they're going to come get me. But yeah, he was the 111,000th one. And then Mr. Jack said, let's all unsubscribe for 5 minutes. Don't do it. Oh, wow. We actually gotten a couple more. Anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $4 super chat from Junebug72, who did not leave a comment. But Junebug, thank you very much for being around for a very long time, as always, and we do appreciate the support. And up next, we have a $3 donation from Banana Boat, 30 plus, who says, good idea. Oh, yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Good idea with the investment of supplies. It will also allow the Ukrainians to have a faster recovery after the war, also faster supplies to the front.
And thank you so much for the support. And thank you for backing up my idea. I thought it was a fairly good one. Of course, one thing I'll say, though, as a president, the president doesn't have a clear shot answer to everything. Sometimes things will be out of president's wheelhouse, and I'll be willing to admit that. I won't know everything on earth. That's why you have a cabinet, and that's also why you have people inside of this massive and never-ending bureaucracy that the U.S. government is that can tell you anything and everything. Like, hey, you can't build there because there's some kind of like an endangered snail there, and if you build there, it'll kill them all, or something like that. Or, you know, better yet, with some organizations, they'll go, we don't have the money, man. And then you sit there and go, that's fine. And you call up the treasury and say, print more money, or just come up with it, you know, like, I don't know, just make it or something. But yeah, I mean, you know, I thought it was a pretty good idea, and I thank you for agreeing with it. I think y'all would love my ideas. I really think I do. Let's go over some of my policy points. So the first thing that we would do, I'm just kidding. We're not going into that now because I'm not. So anyways, with that, thank you once again. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And we're on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
All right. And up next, we have a $3 super chat from Ben, who says, your streams will become more valuable in many ways and 30 to 60 years down the road as people look back on the war. The emotions as we follow it live.
And thank you so much for the support. And I think that is a pretty interesting thing to think about. And also, Mandy, I went to a college class today. I sat down in there.
You did?
Oh, yeah. Believe it or not, I did. Like, I've been talking about that whole night on stream. I did, believe it or not. But I went in there today. The question, because it's a capstone class for my history major, question was, is history facts or is it our truth? Like the modern day truth? And it was an interesting discussion. I'm not getting into it. But one thing that I found that was kind of funny was that they were like, it's our truth. Like the modern day history just kind of conforms to whatever the feelings and whims are of the time. And I was like sitting there and I was thinking, I was like, huh. So is someone going to try and apply their truth to this stream like 60 years down the road? Or are they going to watch this and be like, the guy is literally speaking on a video. You know, and we're 60 years ahead in the future, and we're just going to start interpreting this however we want. You know, just straight up wordage, however we wish. We're going to make it mean whatever. I was thinking...
But yeah, who writes history, though?
It's not true that the history is always told by the winners. You got to remember that...
But Paula McDonald is right.
I disagree, because how come there's so many Confederate statues in the South that were built after the Civil War that made them out to be some kind of like group fighting for a lost cause or something like that, when that was all just rewriting history and that was all being rewritten by the South itself? So, you know, that's just one instance. You can go through everything. Like, you can go through to the Japanese. The Japanese repainted history in the Second World War to where the Pacific theater is not talked about at all. Like, you hardly hear about it. The European theater is what we talk about, fighting the Nazis. We don't ever talk about fighting the Japanese, because the Japanese painted themselves to be victims of the whole thing because they got nuked. And so we just kind of went with that, too, and they were the losers. And we sit over here in the United States, we go, oh, man, it's really questionable why we nuked them. Back in the day, there was no question. We were like, yeah, we nuked them, we won. And now we're like, oh, we don't know. And that was largely because the Japanese rewrote history that way. Also, that's true, Paula. That's very true. But that was their attempt at rewriting history. For the large part, they did. Even to this day. I actually had a friend that went to Beauvoir because he's in Biloxi. And he's in the Space Force, you know, he's the one in Space Force. Pretty cool. And he went there, and he said, we walked out into this park, and there's, like, nothing but these Confederate flags everywhere. And he said, you know, like, I'm in the Space Force now. He's like, back in the day, I wouldn't have really cared, you know, it's just whatever. But he's like, now that I'm in, like, the U.S. military, he's like, we can't have dunked them, so I can't do that anymore. So he didn't walk out in the park. I was like, huh. I was like, that's pretty interesting. I was like, for a very interesting note, he's now going to start taking a beef while he's in the U.S. military. But anyways, with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, at least my opinion of it. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $20 super chat from Laura Carr, who says, who will be your running mate?
My running mate? That's tough to tell. I would say Matthew.
But the problem with that is that that's just pure nepotism, and you can't do that. Well, I mean, everyone else has done it.
Yeah, I was about to say, although you want to be different than
Yeah, we
than
want
them.
to be different. See, I'm not trying to be a corrupt crook, like everyone. I'm trying to actually be a stand-up person, which would probably get me nowhere in politics, in all honesty, because you got to kind of be a crook to do it. But I would actually like to not have nepotism, so Matthew couldn't be the vice president. He could probably be the attorney general. I mean, he could be that. But in all seriousness, I wouldn't know. I would have to give it another 17 years or so to really see who the running mate would be. To be honest, I would want them to be someone that is as level-headed as I would hope to be, so that way if I die or get assassinated, because I'm sure they'll be taking a million risks as president, like just mingling with people, if I got assassinated, he could take the place and not much would change, and we wouldn't really see a lot of governmental change, and the legacy would be ensured. So, that's largely.
Although, wait a minute, I take it back. If I was chosen like as a running mate, if you ran for president, that actually wouldn't be nepotism, because you would let the voters decide if they want to vote for the ticket, which is both you and me, if I was the vice president. So that's actually not nepotism.
Yeah, I mean, like that isn't really nepotism. But then again,
I've never really thought about that.
But then again, Matthew, you would have to kind of like run in the primaries, though. Because otherwise it would be weird for me to pick you as a VP out of like the ether. Like you're just hanging out there doing your law and the legal stuff, being an attorney, and then out of all the party candidates that there would be for this party, I would sit there and go, "Hey, you," and just like grab you out of nowhere and be like, "Come here, we're gonna run for president." That's
the way it works sometimes.
Also, Essel said, "I hope this doesn't sound too political, but all citizens should contact their government representative." No, that's what we said earlier. That's fine. And no politics. We're not talking about political opinions. I'm talking about becoming president. That's like a thing. Like that's been a thing ever since this channel ran. I will be president in 2040. So I will get into politics eventually. It's just not now, and we're not doing it while this war is going on. So with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well. But yeah, I think Matthew could be the VP. If you can't be the VP, what should you go for? I'm trying to think, Matthew. I can't appoint you to anything. That is nepotism. You would have to get elected.
That would be.
Yeah, you would have to get elected. So I couldn't really put you into anything. So yeah. So with that, I hope that addresses the question fairly well, at least the best we can. And thank you so much for the support, Laura, in asking that question. But I'll have to see in 17 years' time who would be a good running mate. It may be Matthew. It may be someone else. I don't really know. But with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $10 super chat from Spencer, who says, thoughts on Jacinda Ardern resigning?
I believe that is the German Minister of Defense, if I'm correct.
Let me check. Let's see here. That is the Prime Minister of New Zealand.
Oh. Unfortunately, I hate to tell you this. I don't really know a lot about the Prime Minister of New Zealand or a lot of New Zealand's political dealings. So unfortunately, I couldn't really give you any input as to why she resigned or if that's a good thing or a bad thing or showing some kind of integrity or not, because I don't really know a lot about the New Zealand government or why that happened. So unfortunately, I have to declare ignorance on that. And also, I feel like it may be going into a bit of a political realm. So, I can't really cover it for that reason either. Oh, look, Bora Bora!
Very nice place.
Yeah.
I just flew there yesterday on Flight Simulator.
Yeah, and also, look, they have the Naval Museum here. What's in here? Model boats displayed in a quaint space. Well, they couldn't have put that any better, could they? Jeez, like, that's the most boring sounding thing. They put one in a light bulb?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That is really cool. It's a really small museum, though. But really cool, nonetheless. I like it. Bora Bora. Didn't a battle happen in the Battle of Bora Bora? Yeah, it did. Yeah, there's a gun. Right there. Bora
Can you
Bora.
imagine fighting in such a beautiful place? That's like blasphemy.
I know. I mean, like Peleliu. Have you ever seen Peleliu?
I think I've heard of it, but I can't remember off the bat.
Oh, damn, we just went around the world. One second, let me go find Peleliu. Guam, there's Palau.
Micronesia. I've never heard of that.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a little independent island state out here.
Huh. Looks like where a volcano would be or something.
Show you a picture of this place. Here's a picture over the canopy of what it looks like. That's
Dang,
interesting.
that is like a legit island right there.
Yeah, that is a legit island. Like, it feels and looks like an island. But let me get you back over there to Palal and then Peleliu, which is down here. It's this little island. This is where one of the worst battles in the war happened. You can still see a part of, well, kind of a part of the airstrip that was out here back when the Japanese controlled the island and the Americans controlled it. And let me see if I can find... Also, this right here is literally a map on Call of Duty. Like, this isn't a real thing right here. I found that out when I clicked on this before, and I was like, I'm disappointed. I was like, I'm really disappointed in Google Maps for allowing that there. But let me show you this. This is cool. Bloody Nose Ridge. It's right here. This is a terrible ridge. It was nothing but coral. The artillery blasted away all the vegetation on this island, so it was a giant coral rock at that point. And they were fighting over this thing called Bloody Nose Ridge. It's right there. And let me see if I can find you the destroyed Amtraks. They're somewhere around. Here we go. There's the destroyed Amtraks that were destroyed here and never taken off the island. They're American vehicles.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty crazy. There's also some Japanese guns that were left over. All kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, this was a terrible place. I think something like 4,000, 3,000 Marines died fighting for this island, and it's incredibly small. It's only about 3 miles long and a mile wide, and 3,000 guys died to take this island.
And why we need it so bad?
Well, that's a good question, because no one really understood why. Even then, we were fighting for Peleliu. In the United States, it was a very contentious thing, because everyone said, what the hell's the point of Peleliu? It doesn't matter. It was a heavily fortified island, one of the most fortified that the Japanese had in the Pacific. We could have easily gone around it and attacked a weaker island that had less defenses and set up a supply base there. Instead, we attacked this one. And we attacked it and took it. And I think about 3 months' time, 4 months' time, and then we practically left it and never returned, and it just was empty after that. There was like a few guys there that just kept the garrison going, and that was it. So there was really no point in fighting for Peleliu. Unlike other islands in the Pacific Theater, this one was heavily questioned as to whether it was worth doing or not. But with that, I hope that answers that question from you, Matthew, fairly well. And let's get on into the next question.
All right, and the next one goes to Mr. Jack B11, who puts in a $10 donation and says, "You mentioned my comment. That's worth small donation."
Oh, well, I thank you. I hit his comment, achievement unlocked. Thank you. And then he puts in some support. Thank you so much, though. It does mean a lot to us that people support this channel and help us keep running. And I love to mention comments from viewers in the live chat every once in a while, because I think it's fun. It allows us to talk to y'all, and I think that's the whole premise and the fun of a live stream, is that not only do y'all get the news, but we can also talk to y'all, and that's something you can't do on a normal video. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and thank you once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $2 super chat from Dupper Bob and a $2 super chat from Dubsy Dabster, who do not leave comments. But thank you very much, Dupper and Dubsy. We do appreciate it very much. They are very, very consistent supporters, and we appreciate it. So the Enforcer is going to put in very, very consistent response.
Consistent response. Thank you. Thank you. You keep the lights on, keep bills running. Thank you. But thank you all once again for the support. It does mean a lot to us, and without it, we wouldn't be able to keep this thing running. That's why it means a lot, because, you know, we'd starve to death back here if we didn't have y'all support. So thank you once again. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And it's now time to get on into the next one.
And the next one, and I know this person hates me saying this now. I don't know why, but the entire family, Billy, Joe, Carl, Bob, Danny, and Frank, they put in a $5 donation. The entire family. I'm just one person. But anyways, that Wagner 80s themed artillery action, damn. Haha. But also, how high is that breach? Built for 8-foot guys, it's totally unergonomic.
I would agree. That was such a stupid artillery piece. It wasn't a peon either. I don't know what that thing was, but it was stupid. Stupid. Spelled S-T-U-P-D-I. Stupid. Stupid. It's spelled S-T-U-P-I-D. I'm just kidding around. But, yeah, I would say that was a really weird looking gun, and the breach was so freaking high. It's like you had to have a stepladder to get up to that thing. But with that, I thank you so much for the support, the whole family. And I know you're just one person, but your name is a whole family's worth of people. And so with that, Thank you so much once again. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And also, that was very unergonomic of the Russians. And also, the song was stupid. And with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again.
And next up, we have a $2 super chat from Dark Warrior 137, who says, "Is the Grinch his name, his ethnicity, or his job?"
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You're a sad, mean little skank.
I think that's not how it went, but we'll
Thank
work
you.
with it.
Yeah, I'll list the way it went.
I don't think that was. If you come to think of it, I think that's not PG. But anyways, I think you so much for the support. Reread the line.
Is the Grinch his name, his ethnicity, or his job?
I don't know who you're talking about, sadly. But I do thank you for the support. And if you're talking about Prigozhin, yeah. If you're talking about me, somewhat. It only applies to some instances. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you once again for the support. And I hope we addressed that fairly well.
And up next, and the final super chat, it looks like for now, it goes to CA Lags, who puts in a $2 donation and says, "I know Excalibur is in Ukraine, but what about PGK?"
It's got PG. I don't think the PGK is in there. I haven't heard about it. So as far as I know, it isn't in there. So with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. There's not really a lot for me to add. It's like kind of binary. It either is or it isn't. I think it isn't right now. So with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, I think that is our final super chat of the night. Now viewers will send them in just to prove us wrong. But with that, we are going to be moving on into the live chats and answering as many as we can until we reach 12:30 local time or 1:30 Eastern time. And so with that, what is the first question?
All right, so first up, we have the Morse code decoders of the stream, Rumpelstiltskin, CFA, WFTU, Mark Hodges, and JP's RCs. Who says, the Morse code tonight says, "Our condolences to the ministers who were lost today."
And y'all did get that correct. I'm not going to do the ding, ding, ding sound because that sounds kind of a little inappropriate. But our condolences do go to the ministers that were unfortunately killed today in that helicopter crash. It was a very unfortunate occurrence, and sadly, a lot of important government officials were killed in the incident. And so with that, I hope that does address the Morse code fairly well. And thank y'all once again for deciphering that here each and every day without fail. I've never seen a single Morse code message go without being decoded on a day. And so with that, we are on to the next one. Thank y'all once again for deciphering.
All right, and up next, we have a $5 super chat from Keymaster, who says, "Get some sleep, y'all." And we will definitely get some sleep eventually.
And thank you for the support, Keymaster. And we will eventually get some sleep. I don't get a lot, but it ain't much, but it's honest work. But with that, thank you once again for the support. And I was right, Matthew. We got one just to prove that was not going to be the last one. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
All right. And up next, we have a question from Commander COVID-19, who says, "A great book for y'all to read is Mr. Putin by Fiona Hill and Clifford Gaddy. It offers some good insights. The poli-sci majors in you will be happy."
And I like that guy's last name is Clifford Gaddy. But thank you so much once again for the recommendation. And I will see about trying to read that book. However, due to the limited time I have, I may not be able to read the book. I have not been able to watch a lot of films, books, or read any information that any viewers have sent me. This is not to put the idea of suggesting that to me down. However, I just hope that people do understand that I may not be able to get around to reading and watching everything because my time is incredibly limited. I have about 20 minutes of break time each day at this point, and that is very hard to not use to not eat. So with that, I hope that answers that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next question goes to Christian Cruz, who says, "Why is Russia talking like they're the only ones with nukes? Demographically, Russia will reach a breaking point in the 2050s anyway." That's because they're insane.
They're insane, yeah. That's the whole reason. They're not talking about it because they have any kind of logical sense or there's something we don't know about. It's literally because they're just stupid like that. So with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a question from Steve Hughes, who says, "Enforcer Matt and Enforcer, are the losses of Ukraine forces and equipment known?"
Unfortunately, they're not. And I say unfortunately because we don't actually get a good measure of how well the Ukrainians are doing against the Russians. All we know is that every once in a while we get an estimate of what they're inflicting against the Russians. It's always somewhere around the category of 6-1 or 4-1, somewhere in between there. Beyond that, we don't get an actual count. So it kind of gives us a lacking on how well the Ukrainians are doing compared to the Russians in the destruction of Russia's armed forces on a day-to-day basis. But you know, we have to make do with what we have, I suppose. So with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And we have a super chat again from the entire family. Billy, Joe, Carl, Bob, Danny, and Frank, who says, no, Matthew, spelled with 1 T. I don't hate it at all. Keep saying it. I just asked to make sure you hadn't forgotten that I was just that one cocoa-sweeted Swede.
What does that
Well,
mean?
that's good to know. That. I don't know.
What
I feel like tonight is the night that we're being had every other question. I don't know what that means.
But
anyways, I'm glad to hear that you don't mind being called the whole family. But seriously speaking, I would like to know, like, really, why do you have that username? Like, seriously, because it's very interesting.
I don't
and also,
know.
why that profile picture too?
And the duck hunting dog thing.
Yeah.
But also, what does Cocoa Sweeted Swede mean? Like, what does that mean? I don't know what it means. I'm trying to get an answer. Answer me! But anyways, thank you once again for the support. We'll make sure to keep on calling you the whole family because I thought it was a cool name. I thought it was pretty neat. And so with that, thank you once again. We are on to the next one. And thank you so much for helping this channel to keep on running and being a longtime channel viewer.
And also, sorry, Aaron Walters. I did put with only one A. He said you can call me AA or not. Sorry about that. And up next, let's see here. We have another super chat, this time from Tom Parker, who puts in a $3 donation and says, if Belarus was to launch total war level offensive from the north, can Ukraine defend against it?
If Belarus did conduct that right now, the Ukrainians have laid down some pretty substantial minefields in the area, so the Ukrainians would have enough time to react, for sure. And so with that, I hope that does address the question fairly well, Tom, and thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And back to the live chat questions. We have one from Chris, who says, Enforcer, have you seen reports that Striker vehicles have been given to Ukraine with more on the way? The 105mm gun on the Striker never worked for the U.S., but it might be perfect for Ukraine.
And that is a good point. The U.S. didn't really like the Striker, but the Ukrainians may love the thing. It will fill some categories that they're looking for, and I think that it may be somewhat effective if it is sent over there. And that may be something we see from the Ramstein meeting here in a couple of days' time. And so with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. Very good one, too. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next question from the live chat is from PJ, who says, Enforcer, do you think that when the Bradleys start being used, that Ukraine will hit the Russians a lot at night and take advantage of the Bradleys' capabilities that Russia seems to lack?
Oh, yes. I do think they will be doing that, and they'll also be attacking in the daytime with those things as well. Pretty much, the Ukrainians will possess the ability to attack at any given time of the day, whether it be morning, dusk, dawn. Well, I just said morning and dawn, which is the same thing. Morning, well, dusk, dawn, daylight, night. They'll be able to attack at any given time with the Bradleys, which will really put a huge problem, a hindrance on the Russian infantry and armored forces because some of them lack that basic ability. So with that, I hope that does answer that question fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
The next one is from Dale, who says, did you guys hear that the UK is sending 30 AS-90s with the 14 Challenger 2s?
AS-90s? Wait a minute, I didn't hear that. When did they say that? Are you kidding me? These AS-90s are super cool. I'll show you one, Matthew. These are a British SPG.
Oh, I like the design. It's real modular looking.
Really modular. Modular, brother. And look at that. It's on the Salisbury Plain.
What in the world's up with that like flexible piece right there in the front?
it's just the HVAC pipe. Don't worry. And also, why in the world does it look like it's pointing towards the ground like it's a bloodhound sniffing the ground as it moves up? It's going. It's like they're over here, and then it's just speeding along. But this thing is really cool, and if they're sending those, I'm blown away. Also, wait a minute. Designed and integrated in Poland. Wait a minute. The crabs are just variations of the AS-90, pretty much.
So they've had them?
Pretty much they've had them. The AS-90 may as well be a crab.
Oh.
That's actually kind of crazy. I didn't know that. I always thought they looked similar, though. But I never made the connection. That is super cool, though. And so with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well. What, Matthew? What?
Of
Sean
course,
Watkins.
there's
Yeah.
dirty things going on in the comments from about that one right there.
This thing needs tank aggro. But with that, we're on to the
Oh.
next one. Anyway, Paul.
But anyways, up next we have a question from Lawrence Wells. He says, "What do you think the reason is for us, meaning NATO, to prolong the war? There has to be one we could send so much more weapons to Ukraine to end the war fairly fast. What do you say?"
We're not trying to prolong the war. It's just the fact that the Ukrainians don't have enough manpower to use everything we send them, and they also can't train them quickly enough for us to send just a whole lot. You have to remember that manpower is the limiting factor in Ukraine. They only have a population of 40 million people, and out of that, I think they've mobilized a decent amount of them. So they're trying to train them. It takes a while to train these guys. It costs money. And so while we can send them an unlimited number of everything, they can't really use it just because they lack the ability to. So that's really the main reason why it looks like the war is kind of being prolonged, because we're trying to send them everything that they can send, and we're not really trying to send them stuff that just won't get used. Because it looks good on paper to send them 100 tanks, but if they can only use 25 of them, 75 of them are just going to be sitting around in a storage building waiting to be blown up eventually by a Russian cruiser or ballistic missile. So with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well as to why it looks this way right now. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And it looks surprisingly like this is the last question in the spreadsheet.
No
we
way.
have run through all the live chats, crazily enough. This one goes to Ronald Mead, who says, "Have you two heard that Ukraine might be getting the GLSDB?"
I have heard that they're getting the ground-launched small-diameter bomb. I'm sorry. It maybe sounded like I was trying to get up right there from something. I was leaning over in my chair because I'm suffering right now. I feel like I'm actually passing out right now. But I do please forgive me. I've gotten very little sleep over this past week due to college. I'm sorry. But to answer that question, we have heard about that ground-launched small-diameter bomb possibly being sent to Ukraine. We know that they already have the Turkish version of it. So the ground-launched small-diameter bomb that would be sent by the United States would pretty much just mean improvement on what the Turks have already sent. So with that, I hope that answers that question fairly well. And considering that that was the last question in the spreadsheet, and we're only 2 minutes away from 12:30, I think we are going to round out this stream right here. And I thank you all so much once again for watching. If y'all enjoyed up to this point, make sure to subscribe, because the Lee Spring Army now has 111,006 subscribers in our ranks. 111,000. Absolutely crazy, and I think that's pretty nutty. So I will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the war in Ukraine on day 331. And I'm going to try and get some sleep because I got to wake up really early in the morning and go to college and go to archives and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm going to be running around wild all day. Also,
we have another super chat.
Oh yeah, we do. So let's go ahead and get it.
This one is from the entire family, once again. Billy, Joe, Carl, Bob, Danny, and Frank, who puts in a $5 donation and says, "Oh, sorry, cuckoo, like the bird, you know, a bit of a loony." What I did point out a few days ago, though, is that my name is like someone with 1-3.
This one of 3. Oh, man. You're gonna be
so,
here.
so downtrodden. Oh man!
And I was sitting here thinking, like, usually Matthew can tell you I stay up a couple of hours after stream as I'm waiting for the coffee to wear off. Usually, I'm so tired the coffee did nothing for me tonight, and I'm about to pass out right now. But we'll wait. So we're waiting for the second part. That was really downtrodden sounding though. I went, oh man.
That was very downtrodden, I have to say.
And actually, we're not ending.
Also, good night to you, away team. Good night to you, Barry Mundy. Good night to you, Casey Johnston. Good night to you, OZ Jeff Gray. Good night, Angry Penguin. Good night, Amma. Also, good night to you, Wes Fry. Good night, JD Macro 23. Good night, Svetlana. Good night, Braith Miller. And good night, surprise it us. There's a second one. Billy Joe, Carl, Bob, Danny, and Frank puts in another $5 super chat and says, wait a minute, let me try to continue it from the last one. My name is like someone with a double name. Mine is just 6 names instead. That's why I should say all of them in one goo and fast. I did give you the explanation, ...
2 out of 3. So we're waiting for the third page.
And also good night to you, Rocco World Domination. Good night to you, Patrick Simon.
And Avelina de Calvo.
Yes. And also good night to you,
Mr.
Dubsy
Ethan.
Dabster. Oh, good night, my favorite car. Oh man, looks like I said Svetlana's name right tonight. Oh, good. Good night to you, Jags. That's right.
You said Svetlana.
Also, good night to you. Well, I mean, that could be right too. Good night to you, 907 Pike, Alaska. West Fry said, Matt said my name. Wow. Also, good night again, West Fry. Good night, Justin of the Beaver. Good night, Taylor McDowell. And also, good night to you, Keymaster. Let's see. I feel like I'm reading this off like a psychopath or something. But
Man. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but you know, we're just waiting. We're just waiting.
But anyways, good night, Thunderstruck. And we're still waiting on the whole family here. Good night, Jay Lassing. He says, why do I get disrespected every day, even though I'm one of the longest watchers? I don't understand.
What
But
do you
anyways,
mean?
good night to you, Jay.
We don't disrespect anybody. You want to get cussed out or something? I'm just kidding with you. I'm just playing. But
I don't know about that username, but good night to you, your life.
my
Let's
life
see here.
is my life, and it's now or never. I'm not gonna live
There it is.
forever. Hey,
We
here
have
go.
a final one from Billy Joe, Carl, Bob, Danny, and Frank, who puts in a final $5 super chat and says, back in September when I sent my first ever super chat, George Carlin, look up a list of people who
ought to be
killed.
whacked. That's the thing that George Carlin's comedy routine was called. I'll make sure to pull that out. I think I actually saw that one. But yeah, we will make sure to remember that about your name, Billy Joe, Carl, Bob, Danny, Frank, and thank you so much once again for the support and the entire family keeping this thing running. And so with that, it is now time for us to round out this stream. I thank you all so much once again for watching. If y'all did enjoy, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And I will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of the war in Ukraine. Good night, take care, good luck, and Slava Ukraini.
Yeehaw!
Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Ще не вмерла України ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці, запануємо ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького